from the Car Shield studio, this is the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
The Cardinals win!
Cardinals are
coming, tra-la, tra-la. The Cardinals are going, tra-la, tra-la. It's tra-la, tra-la. The Cardinals are coming, tra-la, tra-la. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, great to have you with us. Second alert weather here in St. Louis. It'll be sunny today. 54 degrees is where it is right now as we go up to a high of 69. Hope all is well. Hope everybody's doing well after a dramatic Cardinal victory last night. Gets them right back into the race.
Randy, I think everybody should be very excited this morning because yesterday, what all were we talking about?
Cardinals suck, things like that.
Well, yes, the struggles offensively, but the fact that you were able to have Paul Goldschmidt come alive, his solo home run, and of course Nolan Gorman with his first walk-off home run. Who's not excited about that?
Got to be excited about that.
Well, considering the weekend, considering the struggles offensively, a couple guys come through that have not had good starts to their season, so a nice win for the Birds last night at Busch.
They got good enough starting pitching from Lance Lynn. They got great work out of their bullpen. And then the game-winning home run from Nolan Gorman in the bottom of the ninth. And everything came together for the Redbirds against a really good Arizona team.
Absolutely, and I want to go to the bullpen. I think that's the key in this game, and I understand that Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman are going to get most of the headlines and be talked about because of the struggles with the offense. The one thing you have to look at with this team right now is the bullpen, and that was a key. Fernandez scoreless sixth. Kittredge inning and a third, no hits. Romero 2/3 scoreless. Helsley a scoreless inning. So it covered 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Kittredge has been outstanding, 1 earned in 9 innings. So this is a bright spot with what has been a slow start for the Cardinals.
Ryan Fernandez, how special is he? I wish that we would have seen him maybe a little bit sooner, but maybe that's what is leading to what we're seeing right now. But you mentioned Andrew Kittredge. He really was the missing piece for this bullpen, and it is working out so well for him and the Cardinals.
Yeah, he's been good. Fernandez might have the best stuff of anybody down there.
You can make that case.
Yeah.
He had 2 strikeouts last night, and he's got 2 dominant pitches.
Well, what'll be interesting is to see the high leverage that he starts to get, or if you decide to move him when guys are down, if Helsley's down and everybody's got to move from, let's say, the 7th to the 8th, the 8th to the 9th, so on and so forth, will they start gaining more confidence with him and put him in higher leverage situations?
And as O'Brien comes back, as Middleton comes back, this is a chance to be a really loaded bullpen in terms of ability. I don't know if they're going to execute, but in terms of their ability, it's way beyond what last year's bullpen was and has a chance, if they execute with the ability that they have, has a chance to be a really good bullpen.
I think if you're looking at the differences from last season and this season, I know that we talked about yesterday, the same record, 9-13 to start the year. Yesterday, of course, with the win yesterday that they were able to get. I think the biggest thing is, one, bullpen pitching, starting pitching, what they have purchased is starting to work out for them and the way that they plan. It just took a little bit for things offensively to get going for this team.
I better duck when I say this, but Ollie's done a hell of a job with the bullpen.
He really has.
And that's, he's taken a lot of heat for the start. That's understandable. He's the manager. He's the face of this. He doesn't hit. He can make out the lineup. He can shake it up all he wants. But the one thing a manager can control more than anything in the game is usage of his bullpen. And I think he's done a really good job with that.
I agree with that. And last night was a perfect example. I thought he got Kittredge out of there at the exact right time. That was the spot to bring in Romero. They've got Helsley now working on what appears to be a reasonable closer's schedule, and the pitcher has to agree with that too. But when they have a lead, I like to have my bullpen laid out and ready to go if I have a lead in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it appears that there's a game plan to what the Cardinals are doing.
I thought the thing that I loved with the Goldschmidt home run is where he hit it, which was to right center. And what that tells me is that he's letting the ball get deeper And if he lets the ball get deeper, that means he's trusting his hands and trusting what he has at the plate. He's not as jumpy, which he's been very jumpy. A lot of pressure. I'm sure that he's feeling that he's out of whack. But when you start letting the ball get deeper as a hitter, you're trusting your hands. You're trusting what you see. And so for him to go to right center, that is big, big, big for the Cardinals.
Just a major sigh of relief. And look, I understand. We're already getting some text saying, oh, come on now. But the thing is that one game, of course, is not going to pacify everyone. It's not going to convince everyone that this team is back offensively. But at least is a spark, hopefully. Then this could be a game that you look back on and say, this is where things started to at least turn around. You talked about Paul Goldschmidt. That's a huge relief for him because he did look right in that situation. Nolan Gorman, I mean, that snapped a streak of 34 at-bats without a home run or an RBI for him. And he came off the bench in that situation.
It was lefty-lefty.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that I really look at. Lefty-lefty, Goldschmidt's home run to right center. And again, there were issues, though, with this offense. I mean, there being no hit through 4. They come up with just 7 hits. 4, though, coming from 3, 4, and 5. And if you look at how the team was built, was that you'd get 5 to 6 innings from your starter, you turn it over to what is a very good bullpen, and then hope for a timely hit or 2. And that's what they got. That's kind of the formula for the Cardinals here in 24.
In 23 games, the Cardinals have only given 60-cent drinks to their fans 4 times at Mobile on the
That's
Run.
what you're more worried about.
But the key number is not 6 is a serious number. I'm not going to dismiss 6, okay? But here's the thing. And by the way, Brooke, do you have your 60-cent drink cup there?
I did not bring it today.
Okay.
I almost grabbed it this
Okay,
morning.
if you want, they've got a cup at Mobile on the Run. You don't have to worry
Gorgeous
about
cup.
the Cardinals scoring 6. You can just get a 60-cent drink every day, but that's an aside. The Cardinals now, when they score 3 or fewer runs, 4 and 11. When they score 4 or more runs, 6 and 2. 6 and 2, scoring 4 or more. 4 and 11, scoring 3 or fewer. There's your magic number on offense. All due respect to 6.
Score runs. How about just score some runs?
Score 4, yeah. Score,
Right.
score 4 every night and take your chances, right?
Well, you need the big guys to come through, and it's been talked about ad nauseum with Goldy, Gorman, Walker, Arenado. And if those guys hit, they have a chance. The pitching has given them a chance, and it's not dominant pitching. It's still bottom of the third in Major League Baseball with their starters, but still, if they do what they did last night, which is keep the game within reach, and if they hit home runs, which they haven't hit a bunch of them, but if you hit a home run in this day and age of baseball, you have a chance to win some games.
We're already getting some texts in. 618, lipstick on a pig, still 10 and 13.
Enjoy a victory, people. Come on. Let's enjoy a victory, okay? There's not going to be a ton of them this year. You aren't winning 100 games. So when you do, why not enjoy it? Why do you have to be so angry?
And it's the most important win of the year.
Yeah.
With the way that things are going, and guys talked about it after Sunday's game about how they were taking at bats, and you just read in between the lines. They're putting a lot of pressure on themselves, squeezing the bat tightly, which is a cliche, but it's true, and trying to hit the 5 to 7 run homer, which you can't have. I thought the one game that concerned me was Saturday. That felt like last year, but these games, they're competitive, and it's all about wins and losses, but it does not have quite the feel of last year, at least from my perspective, in that they have a chance to win some of these games. Now, if they start winning it, then you get momentum. And I felt like Saturday was momentum of last year, which is bad, and last night is something you didn't see a year ago. So maybe that's momentum going the other way.
So last night I'm watching the Cardinal game, and on the other TV I'm watching the Knicks and the Sixers, and my daughter Katie walks into the room and says, what's happening with the basketball game? She's a bigger NBA fan than MLB fan. I said, oh, it's over. Philadelphia's got it. They're up 5 with 45 seconds left. I said, Philly's going to win this. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Brunson hits a three-pointer with 27 seconds left, 101-99. Maxey loses the ball, turns it over for Philadelphia. DiVincenzo for the Knicks misses a 24-footer, but the Knicks get the offensive rebound, pass it back out to DiVincenzo, and he hits another three-pointer with 15 seconds left, and that gives the Knicks the lead, 102-101. 2 three-pointers in the space of 12 seconds. A horrible sequence for Philadelphia. Knicks hit a couple of late free throws and win at 104-101. Just a devastating sequence for the Sixers. All they had to do was call timeout. Call timeout, get the ball to midcourt, and you're good.
Did you think he should have gotten awarded the timeout near the sideline there when he went down with the ball?
Well,
it was tough to tell.
I thought it was too.
And did he have
the
control of it? That's the thing.
Nick Nurse wanted the jump ball,
right?
But it's you've got to be yelling too. If you want the timeout, not only
I agree,
you got to be yelling. You got to let everybody know.
What a finish, though!
That was amazing.
All these games are so physical, and I was watching the NHL last night too. Mm-hmm. The physicality of the games is just remarkable, and you're not going to see that in the regular season. It's a different season come postseason play, but man, is it physical!
Overnight, sorry, I was just going to say, is it hard watching the NHL playoffs without having a team in there? Do you guys still enjoy it?
No. There's nothing like the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I agree. Do I wish the Blues were in it? Would it make it more fun? Obviously, but I was watching the late game with the Kings and Edmonton Oilers. McDavid had 5 assists by the time I fell asleep. He's awesome.
He's unbelievable.
And that's what makes it fun to watch, too, for me.
And the other part is I really like seeing, after all of the unfortunate injuries that the Vegas Golden Knights had to withstand during the season, that everybody gets healthy.
It's amazing how it happens.
It is weird how that happens for them,
The thing
happened
is
just right at the time.
Yeah, with Mark Stone, of course, it's very fitting that he gets the first playoff goal for the Golden Knights. There's a loophole here. Do you blame them for taking advantage of it?
No, nobody's complaining. That's the rules.
It's the rules.
Oh, people are complaining, Randy.
Well, nobody in the NHL. Nobody, no executives in the NHL because they understand what the rules are.
Yeah, you may not like it, but those are the rules.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You played within the rules. It is what it is. Now, do you think that they'll change something moving forward? I think that's up for debate.
Well, the league, apparently, according to the Vegas Golden Knights, and this is because of what happened with Kucherov a few years ago, the league takes a close look. They very closely monitor these injuries. So they were sending scans of Mark Stone's spleen to this independent league doctor. They have to do it every single day. And apparently the spleen got well.
Within the last 7 days, it made a remarkable recovery. Yeah. That's just what it is.
Amazing.
It's a miracle.
Yeah,
miracle on ice.
Yeah. Oh,
there you go.
Yeah. By the way, the other NBA game, Nuggets over the Lakers, 101-99. Last night in the NHL, Maple Leafs over the Bruins. That series tied 1-1. Toronto wins it 3-2. The Hurricanes over the Islanders by a score of 5-3. Carolina leads that series 2-0. Knights over the Stars, 4-3. And Vegas leads that series 1-0. And as Danny mentioned, Connor McDavid, 5 assists. Oilers over the Kings by a score of 7-4. And the Oilers lead that series 1-0.
There was one goal that was scored by Edmonton. It was kind of a backdoor pass by McDavid, and I can't remember who got it, but it was Hyman. That's who had it, and he had his stick on the ice. Didn't even realize the puck was coming to him, and it hit off his stick into the goal. It was remarkable. His vision, his speed, and the fact that he creates. He's my favorite player to watch.
Go to Hockey Reference. Danny, you'll remember this. If you are interested in this kind of thing, about some players making other players better, go to Hockey Reference and just type in the name Warren Young. Right? Remember him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Warren Young starts his career with the Minnesota North Stars and does virtually nothing. He goes to Pittsburgh and scores 40 goals playing with Mario Lemieux. He played 2 more years in the league, scored 22 goals the next season with Detroit, 8 the season after that with Pittsburgh, and then he's essentially out of the league.
Look at some of the numbers with Bernie Federko.
Yeah.
With lesser players and how he elevated their games. Obviously, Adam Oates did that, but there's been guys that just see the ice at a different level, know where the puck is going to be.
Backhand
That's
play.
one of them, and they're able to elevate their team, and that's what a guy like McDavid does.
The Blues are not in the playoffs, and that means they're going to get some pretty bad grades when the official grades come out. And JR officially graded the defense and the coaches yesterday at The Athletic, and we're going to tell you what we think of his grading system. I'll give you a spoiler. I think he did well. That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, guys, how you feeling this morning? If you're a little bit tired, maybe a little bit fatigued, even though you think you had a full night's rest, I want you to visit my friends at Mentality, because a lot of times we don't have energy as guys because our testosterone level drops. After we have our 30th birthday, our testosterone level does drop. And testosterone is a key for energy. It's a key for motivation. It's a key for mental acuity. And so those items fall off as your testosterone level falls off. At Mentality at lowtusa.com, they have an FDA-approved testosterone supplemental treatment that will restore your testosterone level and your energy and your mental acuity, and you won't be as fatigued. All you need to do is go to lowtusa.com to get started. Make an appointment at one of their clinics in Chesterfield or in South County, and their board-certified physicians are going to do a complete panel of your blood work, find out where your testosterone level is, and then they're going to get it back to where it was. And you'll feel better, you'll feel more energized, you'll feel sharper mentally, and you'll just lead a better life. Get to lowtusa.com to get started. Remember, they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure you have as little out-of-pocket expense as possible. You can be a better you with Mentality at lowtusa.com. Right after giving his grades for the forwards last week, Jeremy Rutherford has weighed in with his official grades for defensemen and coaches for the St. Louis Blues in 2023-2024. Justin Falk, J.R. writes, wasn't himself, but it could be attributed in part to the high ankle sprain that he suffered on December 29th. That being said, Justin Falk, for the season, it's a very Carricker-like D-.
Ooh, a D-? I gave him a D. I didn't go all the way to D-. I had no Fs on my report card. Maybe I should have.
I did.
Okay, Torrey Krug, you want to go to him?
My personal ones.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't give any, but I got a few.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day.
I think the thing, too, with Justin Falk is that when Matthew Kessel came in, you know, he looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. And here's a veteran making a lot of money, and he didn't. But I have to wonder about how much the high ankle sprain did affect him throughout the season.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that it was just a very injury-plagued season for Justin Falk. And even when he did come back briefly at times, he didn't look like himself, and he wasn't providing what you needed for this group and defensively.
And here's my question. If next year, even a healthy Falk returns, is he ahead of Parayko and Kessel, or is he a third pairing $6.5 million defenseman?
I think he's a third pairing. Matthew Kessel is getting better and better and better. How do you not move him up and let him do what he did at some points this year? You know how big of a Kessel fan I am.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I watched him in the first game, and I loved him.
Yeah, I think that with Matthew Kessel, do you give him an A or even an E for exceeding our expectations? Because I didn't have any expectations for him, and I said, okay, here's another guy they're going to call up. He's going to help for a little bit. But even though he played in 39 games this season, it felt like you noticed every single game that he was a part of. He did make a difference defensively.
JR gave him a B+.
Ooh, I gave him an A.
Well, that's the thing. I'm grading on the curve here. Because I had no expectations, right?
Yeah.
So relative to what my expectations were, none. I'm the same way.
Maybe I go A+ then, because of how you just explained it. Brooks said he played 39 games. He was a minus in just 11 of the 39 games. So I thought he had a hell of a year for a guy that, was a fifth-round pick and kind of came out of nowhere. At least for me, I didn't know much about him going into this season. And when they called him up, I thought, who's this Matthew Kessel? I mean, I'd heard of him, but hadn't paid all that much attention to him. And I thought he played exceptional.
Torrey Krug is a try-hard guy. And even with the effort, the production wasn't there. And you can't give somebody a good grade just because they try hard, right? If somebody in school is not very smart, just because they don't get good grades, you can't improve it because they aren't very smart.
Do you try hard on this show?
I do.
I give you an A+.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Torrey Krug, at this stage of his career, is an outstanding, when healthy, power play quarterback, but I think that's all he is at this point. JR gave him a D-, and I think that's fair.
I think that that's very fair because there was times that he was doing well, and I'll give him credit for that. And you mentioned the power play, but then there's other times where he was just not. And JR wrote in the article that he finished with the Blues' worst plus-minus for a defenseman by far and was on the ice for 45-on-5 goals and for 61 against. So that is something that is glaringly bad for Torrey Krug. And I don't know what you can say about him moving forward. You hope that things get better. I'm interested to see what happens this summer because we know what happened last summer where Doug Armstrong possibly tried to move him, and, of course, that didn't work out. Is that something else that they explore this offseason?
Who
wants him?
Yeah, that's the thing. Would you try, if you're another GM, look at the other side, right?
Yeah.
At that cost?
Well, the other thing that you mentioned, Randy, said he's brought in for the power play, and at times he's taken off the top unit.
Right. Yeah.
So when I see that, I got to say, well, what else is he bringing to the table? He has to be quarterbacking at times the power play, and if he's not doing that, then I'm not getting a lot out of him.
No, and that's when you dress 7 defensemen. The reason is because Krug only plays on the power play.
Exactly.
Right? If you're going to do that, that's why you do it. Nick Leddy gets an A from JR. The Blues have needed, since the incident, the cardiac incident involving Jay Bouwmeester, they've been waiting for a good, solid complement to Colton Parayko. They brought in Leddy specifically for that job, and it appeared to me that this year those two finally started to mesh.
And that's the thing that I agree with here is A, and then he also gave Colton Parayko an A+.
Yep.
I think with Nick Leddy, you can attribute some of Colton Parayko's successes because he finally got a more consistent partner this season. One, Colton Parayko completely healthy this season, but two, having that more consistent partner that complements him so well.
And why did the Blues want to trade Torrey Krug for Travis Sanheim? I don't think this was expected from Leddy either, right?
No,
because they wanted a guy to play with Parayko.
And what stands out for me is the 25 assists with little power play time. So give Leddy credit for that. Paired with Parayko, they were very, very good as the top pairing. And I also give you a nudge because you played in game number 1,000 of your NHL career. That's
Nick.
An excellent part of his resume.
Even though he played for the Blackhawks.
That's all right.
And then I'm totally on board with Colton Parayko in the A+. Again, relative to, I think, what most of us expected because he hasn't played well, apparently because of the back. How long do you think he's had that, Matthew?
Oh, no.
About a week back? Yeah, I think so. He was outstanding. And I've said for a long time.
Portal.
I've said that I didn't look at Parayko as a guy that could manage the game from the blue line. Even during this season, I said that. But he has become that guy where, okay, you got a problem, the puck is bouncing off people's sticks, and nobody seems to know what they're doing. What do? Put the puck on the stick of number 55 and let him handle it.
More physical this year, led the league in block shots, and played a ton of minutes, nearly 24 minutes a game. So he truly was the number one defenseman that they've been looking for.
If you can give him an A++++, I think that's what you should give him. Healthy season for him, as you mentioned, led the league in block shots with 218, which is just incredible when you think about it, that he was able to do that this season. And he looks everything. I understand that everybody wants him to have a little bit more of that Chris Pronger edge, but there's only one Chris Pronger, right? Yeah. And so he has the size, he has the ability, and he's also just continuing to make strides every single season, and even more so this year.
Yep. I have a sign on my desk in the office that says, "It is what it is." That's the way I feel about Scott Perunovich now. Perunovich gets a D. I don't know if it's going to happen for Scott Perunovich at this stage.
You're going to find out more because of the games played. He only played, though, in 54 this year.
No goals.
Lack of size, not really physical, and no goals. He passes up on way too many shots. Shoot the puck. He's an offensive-minded guy, and, you got no goals. You got to bring more to the table than just that.
I want it to work out because he's a Hobie Baker Award winner. So every time you hear that, your ears perk up, and I hope that it works out for him, but we just haven't been able to see him healthy, so you don't know what you're getting with him, honestly.
That's the thing. You would hope, as a Hobie Baker winner, and I know it's a high bar, but when you look at the size and you look at the apparent ability, you think, oh, Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to be Cale Makar, but I don't even know if he's going to be a guy that you want to play in your top 6 on a regular basis.
I don't see him being a physical type defenseman, so he's got to be offensive-minded with no goals. That's a problem for me.
Yep. And then Scandella probably earned himself a contract with other teams. He is a number 6 or a number 7, but he played well when he played in his 65 games, and he gets a B- from JR. I think Scandella is a guy that you can win with, but not because of. He's kind of like Carl Gunnarsson was here. Not exactly, but that kind of guy where he's not a minutes muncher. He's not a guy that's going to play a lot. He's not going to be a star, but he's a serviceable guy that winning teams need.
And once he was taken off that top pairing, I thought he was better. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that's put on him when you get that role, and all of a sudden when you're taken off that role, the pressure isn't there. The contract talk isn't as prevalent. So I gave him a B. I gave him a B with his season that he just had.
B or C, just fine. I think that's what it is. And we would have seen more of him, but of course you have to get Scott Perunovich more minutes, and so that's why.
And we'll get to Tyler Tucker. He gets a C+. I would give him an I, 26 games, but we know what he is. Bennington, the goalies, Bennington's an easy A, is he not?
A+.
And both Bennington and Hofer. A+ for Bennington, that's from JR, and an A- for Hofer. I'll give Hofer an A. I'll give him a little bit.
I was going to give him a little bit more than that, too. That's what I marked down on my paper here.
Yeah. Berube gets a C. It's not bad to get kicked out of class and get a C. Right?
That's just well enough.
Bannister gets a B. And I would go, B, because of what he took over. He kind of took over a mess, and he finished top half of the league in the time that he did coach the team. So a B is fair, I think.
I think a B is fair. He, of course, helped with the power play, but I don't think that he was preaching anything different than Craig Berube, in my honest opinion, because what did Craig Berube like? He liked the physicality. He also wanted more guys to park it in front of the net, and that is something that it felt like finally you were able to see some of the guys buy into, and then also adding Jake Neighbors to the power play obviously made a huge difference there.
I gave him an A.
Really?
I did. I mean, he was 30, 19, and 5, 10th best winning percentage when he took over. And to your point, Randy, it was a mess. And it was a tough spot to come in after Chief and the Kyrou comments and the things that were going. It was a mess, and the power play was terrible at that point, and it did get better. And he finished fourth in the Western Conference in that record. So I gave him an A. I think when you take over a mess and you get close to the playoffs, which they were close, they made it interesting down the stretch, you deserve to have this look by the organization. Now, if I'm sitting in his seat, I'm sitting there saying, do they really want me? Because if they did, I'd be signed up right now. Why am I the interim guy, or at least interviewing for this job still?
Well, he's on that small list of candidates.
But you already know what you got. So why not say, we believe in you and you're our guy?
But remember, Dan, it took a long time for them to hire Berube after he won the Stanley Cup.
But you knew you were going to do it. This guy is still waiting on the outside.
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable for the Blues to do their due diligence with other coaches.
So are you waiting for somebody to lose?
Yes. Well, Doug Armstrong mentioned that in the end-of-season press conference, is that maybe even some of the names on that small list are coaches who are still out there playing during the playoffs or coaching during the playoffs.
It's my opinion,
Jim Montgomery,
that the Blues have wanted Jim Montgomery to be their head coach for a while.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
And he has St. Louis ties, obviously. And from his personal perspective, my understanding is outside of what he's doing with Boston, and obviously they've been very good, but if it opened up, he would want to, at least because of family ties with his wife and St. Louis ties, it would make a lot of sense for him to come to St. Louis.
And Matthew, what did you hear about his contract situation 2 years in with the Bruins?
Oh, yeah, he said he's a free agent. So him and Brendan Moore are both potentially going to be hitting the coaching free agent market, and I have a feeling those will be 1, 2, in whatever order you want to put them for the Blues.
Let me ask you guys this, though. Are you better off saying, we are what we are, we're not going to do a lot in the offseason, we might as well stick to the plan of this guy, and then when we get to what we think is the window that's opening, let's bring in the guy that's got more cachet?
I think that if you can get a guy like Montgomery, I mean, he draws rave reviews for his coaching ability. And he's coached in college. He knows how to deal with young players. He did a good job here in all facets of the special teams and 5-on-5. He's just a really, really good coach. If I could get Jim Montgomery, I would want Jim Montgomery.
My only thing is that they flip these guys so quickly because it falls on deaf ears. And do I want that after a year of some of the guys, you don't know, but some guys maybe not buying in and falls on deaf ears until that window truly opens and you feel, hey, we got a chance to get in the playoffs and win a lot of games.
Well, Army doesn't see this as just based off of his conversation. I know that maybe it might not be that exciting of an offseason, but he doesn't see this as a full rebuild. So bring in Jim Montgomery, who the players really do. They talked about it a lot. Even Buchnevich, which is going to be interesting to see if they approach him with a contract extension. It seems like this offseason, he's a huge huge fan of Jim Montgomery.
Right. One other quick one here before we get to a break. JR gave Army a C. Verana, a fail. Blay, a fail. Kapanen, I'm going to give him a fail on those guys. And the moves that were made during the offseason, and Kevin Hayes, fail. Man, it's hard just based on this year, not over the body of work, which has included the contracts that we don't like. But for this year, I have trouble giving Army even a C. I think I'm looking at C minus, D plus there.
Doesn't it, though, kind of the C, though, goes back to maybe couple years ago, then the following year, and then going into this year.
Yes,
it's kind of the collective body of work.
That's why if I'm going to give players grades for this season specifically, I'm going to give the GM grades for this season specifically,
and
too.
I think that's fair.
I think it is, too.
So, the roster construction was not great, and they're kind of trapped by some of these contracts. All right, great job by JR at The Athletic. Check it out at theathletic.com, and if you haven't subscribed, do so. Coming up, our buddy Stan McNeal from Cardinals Magazine talking a little Redbird baseball here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals last night with a big walk-off win over the Diamondbacks, 5-3. The power returns to the lineup at least for last night as Paul Goldschmidt breaks the streak for the Cardinals and his own personal slump with a home run, and then Nolan Gorman comes off the bench for the walk-off shot for the winner. Cardinals back in action tonight, 6:45 first pitch. It'll be the lefty for the Diamondbacks, Tommy Henry. He's 0-1 on the season with a 6.87 ERA. He faces off against the lefty for the Cardinals, Steven Matz. Matz on the season 1-1 with a 3.60 ERA. That's your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, and we always enjoy our visits with Stan McNeal of Cardinals Magazine, who joins us now on the Celebrity Line here on 101 ESPN. Stan, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm ready to go. I've got a question for you guys. See how alert you are this morning.
I'm ready.
Little Cardinals trivia. I know how sharp you guys are. Danny Mac will probably get this.
Fernando Tatis.
The question is, since 2000, there have been 2 Cardinals starting pitchers to average 10 strikeouts per 9 innings for a season. They were Cardinal starters for the whole season, qualified for the ERA title. So since 2000, 2 Cardinal pitchers, 10K per 9 innings. Who you got?
I'm going to go Lance Lynn as one of them, and I'm going to go with Carp with the other.
No.
Carp? How about Matty Moe?
Nope.
All right. Why don't you give us the answer, Stan?
I was going to say Lynn as well, just because of Lynn last night.
No, Lance was he's in the 8s, but you have 2 guys, Jack Flaherty in 2019 and Rick Ankiel in the year 2000,
There you go.
right at 10 per 9. So there you go. And only one other guy averaged 9 per 9. If you want to take a stab at that, or you want me to just give it to you?
We'll take that one, too.
That was Carlos Martinez, and he did that twice.
Wow.
I forgot about Carlos.
Yeah. If you go that one guy had 9+ for 2 seasons, we go a long way before we get to Carlos. So, Stan, it's good to see the Cardinals break out a little bit. Yes, they only scored 5 last night, but the big boys, well, you had the home run from Goldy, you had the home run from Gorman. And if the Cardinals are going to succeed, those are going to be 2 of the key players.
It's as simple as that. Absolutely. And, for me, probably the most encouraging thing about last night was Gorman's home run was off a lefty. And, man, he just crushed that thing. Good to see some smiles down there.
Yeah, it looked like it was very much needed, especially for Paul Goldschmidt, too. What did you see from him last night and for him to be able to just finally get that solo home run?
I'm not sure I saw him smile after he hit that home run. I was really looking for that, and I was thinking, like, okay, Goldie, now you might want to smile. But now I think from what I saw, he just same old Goldie, very stoic, very calm, running the bases, just doing his job. And, talking with him after Sunday, he's just Goldie. He says, I know, he knows. Obviously, I haven't been doing my job. All I can do is try harder and continue to work. And that's what he's going to do. And we'll just have to wait and see how that, what kind of production that results in.
Stan, what's it been like down there? Is it tight, or are guys still fairly relaxed because it's so early in the season?
I think it's more relaxed, but you can kind of see it changing a little bit. This was a 4-game losing streak going into yesterday. So, yeah, a little bit, but no, it's still very early. I know Wilson, after Sunday's loss, was like, no frustration, not yet. Way too early for that, and way too much belief in these guys to know that they're gonna turn it around.
Hey, Stan, last night, again, the Cardinals get a few, let's look at it this way. More innings out of Lance Lynn than they were getting out of their starters at this time last year. Do you think it's working with Gray, Lynn, Gibson?
Well, so far, except you take away a couple of bad innings, and those guys have been they've been strong. I mean, Sonny Gray particularly has been at least as good as advertised, if you ask me. And Gibson and Lance have both come in and delivered kind of exactly like Mo expected them to so far.
And the bullpen, too, has been another highlight for the team this season, right?
Oh, the bullpen, yeah. I mean, you're looking at guys like Andrew Kittredge and Ryan Fernandez. I mean, the bullpen just feels tighter now. I mean, you can go. I mean, you put Kittredge out an inning, and I think Ryan Fernandez, he's a young guy. We're just kind of watching him grow into a role. We're not even sure what it's going to be, but it's clear that Ollie is developing more trust in him, and he's got a wipeout slider and good stuff.
How concerned, Stan, I know you follow the game for a long, long time, and you're down there every day, but how concerned do you think the Cardinals are right now with the start of Jordan Walker?
That's a great question. I mean, past couple of days we have not seen him in the lineup or even as a pinch hitter when you could. So, I think that there must be a little bit of concern. But in terms of this, this is right the time of last year when he got sent down. And when he got sent down last year, his numbers were a lot better than they are today. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but, when Jordan, I think, still has some time, but when we see Dylan Carlson come back and he's kind of getting closer, when he comes back, somebody's going to have to go. And Jordan, I think it looks like to me that they're basing some of his playing time now on production, not just development, if that makes any sense. So it's a key stretch for him, I think.
Stan, what do you have in the great Cardinals Magazine this edition? Well,
we've had 2 editions so far this year, and our cover topic for the coming into the season was Jordan Walker. So we're not claiming a cover jinx or anything there yet. We looked at Jordan, and not just this is a young guy who's not just growing on the field, but he's kind of taken his game off the field. His agent is Amber Sabathia, CC Sabathia's wife, and they have big plans for Jordan to kind of become more involved in the community and kind of step up this season. And this was all done in the off season, so we'll see how it plays out now with Jordan. I know his focus is on the game this year, but now we took a look at Jordan. He's on the cover, and then the other cover story was Sonny Gray coming into spring training. I wrote that story based on Sonny's high school career, his high school days. I mean, this guy is a legend in Smyrna, Tennessee. I don't know how much you've heard about his upbringing, but there's some great stories if you'd like to hear one or two of them.
Yeah.
Well, when Sonny, this is kind of a sad story, but Sonny had just started 9th grade at Smyrna, just started a new school, playing on the freshman football team. It was kind of the end of August. His father worked 2 jobs because they're middle-class family, worked 2 jobs. He was driving home from his second job one night and was in a car wreck and died the next day. And the family, Sonny, his 2 sisters, and his mom, their support circle. By this time, Sonny already was kind of known at Smyrna, so some of the varsity coaches are there. They're deciding, the decision was made to take Sonny's father off life support, and the adults are kind of talking about, okay, what do we do now? And Sonny's kind of overhearing them, and he says, well, I've got to go to school today because there's a football game tonight. And if I don't go to school, I can't play in the football game tonight. And the adults go, oh, hey, you don't need to be thinking about football right now. No, you don't need to worry about that. And Sonny told me he stepped back and he looked at everybody and he goes, what would my daddy want me to do? And so everybody kind of changes. Sonny ends up playing in the football game, throws 4 touchdown passes that night. The team wins, and it's kind of the legend of Sonny Gray was born that day.
It's a movie.
And that's only one of them. I mean, when he was a 2-time state champion as a quarterback. And the first time, in his school, Smyrna had never won a state championship. When Sonny was a junior, they lost to their kind of the neighborhood powerhouse rival by like 50 points or something in October. Then the next month, they're playing them in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. And Sonny throws a touchdown pass, puts Smyrna in the lead by a couple points midway through the fourth quarter. Then he throws an interception. And before the game, the coach, the story goes, had gone around his speech, his pregame speech was, "I believe." You know, he just told his guys, "I believe," because a month earlier they had gotten blown out by this team, but now he's just, "I believe." So Sonny throws this touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Smyrna has to hold him. The coach looks over, and Sonny's walking up and down the sideline saying, "I believe, I believe," you know. So the team misses the field goal. Smyrna wins, and for the next 2 weeks, "I believe" signs are all over Smyrna High School as they go and kind of complete their run for the state championship.
Sounds like a very compelling story, and we'll check it out. Stan, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Have a great day, and go Cardinals.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Stan McNeal, Cardinals Magazine, with us on 101 ESPN. Next up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Send your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho!
Yo-ho.
The only next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are even considering selling your home, I want you to get in touch with my friend Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, because she guarantees to sell your home. And that's in writing. If you don't get your home sold by Gloria Liu at your agreed to price and time frame, she'll buy it herself. That's guaranteed in writing. Her name is her promise and says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and your agreed to time frame, or she'll buy it herself. Gloria has solutions for every type of home seller. For those who want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria has a 24-hour cash offer solution. That's a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer bid from Gloria's database of buyers in what she calls her cash offer bid box. You can reach Gloria today at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. If you're even considering selling your home, know the name, know the number. Gloria Liu, 314-325-6888.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Liu Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
It's time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. Your text line is open, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. We would love to have you join us for the show. Paul Goldschmidt is able to come through with a home run last night. Kids, take it or leave it. He is turning it around and will have a good season in 2024.
I'll take it because it is still early. Uh-oh. You were talking about dodging, Dan, earlier when you were talking about Ollie's comments. I feel like I have to dodge after saying that. It is still early for Paul Goldschmidt. Now, he does have still a sub-200 batting average, so that's not great for him. But I believe this could be at least the start of something for him, so I'll take it.
Yeah, you have to hope it is. I mean, he started the day hitting 179, no extra base hits in 20 straight. I don't know if it's the start of something great, but it's definitely the start
That's why
of...
I said something.
Yeah, it's definitely the start of something in the positive direction. Talked about in the first segment, he let the ball get deep, and when he takes the ball to right center and hits it for power, then that's a guy that usually is starting to get locked in because you trust your hands and you don't jump at the plate. So I would look at that as being something in the positive direction.
Take it or leave it. The NHL needs to make a rule where you can't circumvent the cap by keeping players on the long-term injured reserve until the playoffs start.
I will leave that.
I'm going to take it. I don't mind it. It is what it is. It's part of the rules. So what? Let's get the best players on the ice healthy.
Yeah, but you're saying change the rules, right?
I'm saying change it.
So if he's not available at the end of the season, he wouldn't be available in the playoffs.
Okay.
I want the guys to be available.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I need to change it then.
Yeah.
I misunderstood myself.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, if you look at some of the moves, too, about where it puts them over the cap, I think that's the biggest issue that I have is that it is a loophole that I understand that not only the Golden Knights use, but other teams as well. Mark Stone, though, conveniently, if you look at some of his history, he has done this several times in recent years. But I feel like there has to be some way to at least close up this loophole so that you can't be over the cap of what you had in the regular season.
And there was a story in The Athletic about this the other day, that with the roster with Stone that the Golden Knights are fielding right now, they would not be over the cap.
Oh.
All right, you ready? Mm-hmm. All right. So most in baseball thought that Oakland would be the worst team in MLB. Then I watched over the weekend, Spencer Turnbull, Zach Wheeler took no-hitters into the 7th and the 8th against the White Sox. They have 2 or fewer runs in 14 of their 22 games. They're 3-19, a 78 run, minus 78 run differential. Take it or leave it, the White Sox will not win 60 games this year.
Ooh.
I'm going to take it.
I'm going to take it. They look bad.
They're awful.
Tons of injuries.
Awful.
Yes. They're awful.
They might have made a mistake with the managerial hire, too. It doesn't appear the culture is great with the White Sox either.
Yeah, and when you lose, the culture's just not going to get any better. It comes down to talent. I mean, they don't have any talent, and they're banged up with all the injuries. I think John Brebbia, by the way, if you're a Cardinal fan, just got called back up to the major leagues, and he's with the White Sox.
Good deal. All right, Matthew, what do you got on the old text line?
Take it or leave it. Goldy, Gorman, and Walker all get hot, and the Cardinals offense finishes top 5 in the league.
I'm going to leave that.
Oh.
Yeah, top 5 is not something that I'm planning on.
I'm going to go ahead and leave that as well.
Yeah.
The Cardinals offense currently is 27th in average, 29th in home runs, 27th in runs batted in.
A lot of runway.
26th in OBP.
A lot of runway.
Slugging percentage 29th. And 27th in OPS. So they got a long runway to go.
Small sample size?
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully they can only go up from here.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to look at it.
Take it or leave it. We'll go with a different group here. Take it or leave it. The Killer G's, Goldy, Gorman, and Gray will lead the Birds on a 7-10 game winning streak, including last night.
I'll leave that.
Oh.
I just don't see that happening. Sorry.
How many starts does Sonny Gray get in that time? He's got 2, so there's a couple of wins maybe, potentially. You feel better about that when Sonny's on the mound.
If he can get some run support is the biggest thing, which is where the other Killer G's come in.
I would throw an A in there. I'd throw a W in there.
Probably shouldn't use
Jordan
that
Montgomery
nickname.
pitches against the Cardinals tomorrow.
Yep.
Probably
Against Kyle Gibson, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Probably shouldn't use that nickname. Just saying. I like what we're going for, but probably not. Take it or leave it. If players can't go in game 82, they shouldn't be allowed to play in the first round. How about that, Brooke?
I might just take it. And I'm still looking at this. So from what I'm reading, I heard what you said earlier, Randy, but I think that there is some things here, loophole-wise, that just doesn't sit right with me. So Mark Stone injured 2 weeks before the trade deadline. Vegas uses Stone's cap hit to acquire Hurdle and Hannafin. And now they are, I believe, $9.2 million over the salary cap.
Is that right? Because apparently the group that this is according to The Athletic, and the story in The Athletic, the group that they fielded last night is under the cap.
I'm going to leave the original point.
What if it was the Blues, though? Like when the Blues with Tarasenko a few years ago. Would you like to have had that rule where Tarasenko wasn't available for the Blues?
Of course not. And the Blues aren't the only ones who have done it. We've seen Tampa do it. We see the Golden Knights do it, everybody. But I have a feeling with the next negotiations that are coming up that there's going to be some way that they try to close up this loophole.
And you were talking about game number 82, Matthew. That was the original texter. And what if you're the number 1 seed and you want to rest players going into game number 82?
That's a good point.
So
that's true.
They have to go on your active roster for game 82, maybe?
I think it's more specific. I think the texter was more specific about what we're talking about with LTIR.
Yeah.
So
Make it a roster rule.
if you think it's necessary to mess around with people's ruptured spleens, I guess it's fine.
Okay, Randy, are you trying to make me? You're trying to make me look like the bad person here. I don't know what's going on fully with Mark Stone. It just looks a little bit fishy, and I think a lot of other people in the NHL are pointing that out as well.
Yeah, it's every single management person says they're working within the rules.
When exactly is your fishing trip to Jackson Hole with Mark Stone?
Yeah, Stoney, eh?
Take it or leave it. Nikola Jokic ends up with more titles than LeBron.
I'll leave that.
Leave that as well.
Winning 3 more is hard.
It's hard.
That's tricky.
I was surprised that he didn't come in. Speaking of a Nuggets fan in here, I'm surprised you didn't come in with a Joker shirt because you have that.
Yeah, the problem there was I stayed up watching the game and therefore didn't get a lot of sleep. And so I woke up this morning. I didn't have one of the last thoughts I had when I go to sleep was, I got to wear my Jokic shirt tomorrow. It'll play well. And I woke up this morning on 4.5 hours of sleep and completely forgot to do that.
Well, the other thing too, if you look at LeBron when he won, he was surrounded by great talent. I mean, if you go to Miami, you look at that. Lakers had a great team. He had Kyrie and Kevin Love in Cleveland. So Jokic would have to be, in my opinion, get at least a little runway of a super team involved in there to allow him to get to 2, 3, and 4.
Right. He got Michael Porter Jr. there.
They do.
Yep. Also, I love Nikola Jokic, but why would he play till he's like 35? He's not going to do
He doesn't love it that much, does he? Here's the line at the end of the Athletic story from the other night. If Vegas ices a fully healthy lineup, which they did last night, with the lines they used in Saturday's practice, it would still only carry a cap hit of roughly $82.22 million, below the $83.5 million cap ceiling. So that is from a writer by the name of Jesse Granger in the Athletic that wrote that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure that there was something there. Would you at least agree that there is something a little bit, tad bit fishy about it? If you could figure out some way to close this loophole.
If they're lying about the grade 3 ruptured spleen, I would say it's fishy, yes. But I don't know if they're lying about it or not. But here's the thing. Like we said earlier, the league is getting CT scans pretty much every day of these players that are hurt and on LTIR. So if anything, it's the league's fault, right? If they aren't reading the medical information that they're getting correctly, right? So that would be where something needs to be done, is fire Gary Bettman.
The league's in the pocket of Vegas. Shocker, shocker. Take it or leave it. For all the shortcomings, Ollie has actually done a good job of what he can control this year, which is mainly the bullpen and pinch hitting.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take it.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Duck. I'm going to duck again. I think he's done a nice job with the bullpen, and that's one of the things, and maybe the main thing, that a manager can't control. He can't control Goldy and Gorman getting cold and Walker off to a terrible start, and the injuries that they've had to Tommy Edman and Lars Nootbaar to start the season, Dylan Carlson to start the season, Victor Scott hitting .080. Those are things that are out of his control.
Well, and that's... Have you ever seen a team that hits .219 that's looking spry and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed?
And that's the thing. I mean, when you do not score, man, you look dead. It's just, you look like you have no jump whatsoever when you have zero offense. And there's just so much he can do with the offense. I mean, you want him to sit Goldie, you want him to sit Arenado, you want him to sit Walker. Now he's sitting Walker. You want him to sit Nootbaar, you want him to sit this guy or that guy. There's only so much you can do. You know, you got a 26-man roster. You got to throw out the first 9 that you see that you think give you the chance to win.
And by the way, the Cardinals up to 220 now.
We also got a text as we're going back and forth on this Vegas thing. 314, Vegas healthy scratch 10 million. Other teams need their rosters healthy, need their rosters and healthy scratches under the cap, not just the ice team.
But the cap doesn't apply in the postseason, though. There is no cap in the postseason.
Well, yeah, of course, but they're saying that if it's different during the regular season, and it should stay the same for the playoffs, because that's the whole point of the loophole, right?
So you should just the league should sit their best players during the postseason?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they're using a loophole here to be able to get around the regular season rules and the playoff rules.
But to solve the problem, wouldn't you have to, by definition, sit the guys that are hurt, like Kucherov a few years ago and Stone now? Wouldn't that be how you solve the problem?
For the whole playoffs?
Well, I wouldn't do it
at least
at all.
for a round. You're saying that in this situation, it would essentially result in.
How does that improve the league?
Doesn't improve the league, but then you're admitting that they're playing a little fast and loose to improve the product,
or that they were hurt and weren't prepared, weren't ready to go physically until game 83. And that's why the league, because of Kucherov, is taking such active participation in finding out what the medical situations of these players are.
And that's the thing is, like, because Mark Stone's, this has happened to him multiple times in his career, people want to talk about it's fishy. Because it's happened before with other players, people want to talk about it's fishy. But at least credit to the NHL, to your point, they are reaching out and trying to make it seem a little bit more above board.
You could just raise the cap, and that helps.
Everyone's really mad. Well,
But that'll have to be collectively bargained. So let's extend this out a little bit. With, like, if you're the NFL, would you want to have to sit Patrick Mahomes for the playoffs?
I just want to see the best players.
Yeah. No, but I don't want the Chiefs being able to pull off like the Broncos in the late 90s and just being able to circumvent the cap to make things work. Like that, I want to call foul on that. If that's what's going on. That's all. That's, I think, all people.
And that's the question: is what's going on?
Yes.
Did the guy have a ruptured spleen?
Of course. Well, and that's the thing, is that if they are doing, and what you're saying is if they're checking into it, then there's no way around that. But they were, to my point earlier, they were able to add 2 players at the deadline because of this way that they were able to work around it with Mark Stone. And then he conveniently comes back at the start of the playoffs.
And it is, according to this story, they could not find an NHL executive that complained about this.
Yeah, because everybody's doing it.
Well,
my whole point is that
rules.
my whole point is, don't you think that eventually they just might find a way to do something different with this moving forward, especially with the negotiations?
So you'd have to do one of 2 things: not allow teams to try to improve themselves, or sit your best players during the playoffs. What other solution would there be?
Not circumvent the cap and maybe raise the cap.
But you already have a cap. That'd be your next CBA. You would do that. But if you're the owners, do you want to raise the cap?
I would think so.
The players are already getting 50% of the revenue, right? So would you want to give the players more than 50% of the revenue? So I don't know how this problem is solved. If it is a problem, and I don't see it as a problem. That's, I guess, the bottom line.
Okay.
So, but we can fix it. We'll find a way to fix it.
Can we get one last one in here? Take it or leave it. Klaus basically tased Agata on that goal. That was the play where he knocked the guy down. He basically tased him, Randy. Like, that's the kind of soccer you want to watch.
He deserved that, yeah.
He deserved it. Jesus.
He said, this is soccer. That's the way it should be. It's the opening drive, 101 ESPN. Thank you very much for your texts. Coming up, how much do the Cardinals need to win in the division with only 14 games per year against the division? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, you need to know about the Schnucks Rewards app. It is so easy to download the Schnucks Rewards app, and if you do, they'll reward you for getting active the rest of this month with their Healthier Habits Steps Challenge. You can earn $5 in Schnucks Rewards points each week in April by hitting the 50,000 step weekly goal. That means you can earn $20 in Schnucks Rewards in April just for being active. And all participants are entered to win one of 6 prizes between $100 and $500 in Schnucks Rewards points. Are you looking to take a step forward in your health and wellness journey? Schnucks has a free health and wellness program called Healthier Habits that has tools to support a healthier lifestyle, like delicious dietitian-approved recipes and exclusive discounts on dietitian picked items. Check it out at the great Schnucks Rewards app and learn more today. Join today at schnucks.com/healthierhabits or in the Schnucks Rewards app. Healthier Habits members get 2 times points on dietitian-picked items through the end of April, and you can get it all through the Schnucks Rewards app.
Release. Lars Nootbaar with an opposite field hit, and we've got a 1-run game. Driven toward right center. Carroll on the run. He's going to turn. At long last, the drought is over for Goldy. A game-tying home run. Pulling Gorman the first, and he unloads. Deep right. Track. Wall. Walk-off winner on the first pitch.
The Cardinals were able to knock off the Arizona Diamondbacks last night, playing more games against the Diamondbacks and the rest of the teams in baseball and starting last year, rather than playing 18 games against each division teams, 19 games against each division team. They now only play 14. That's 20 games during the season that the Cardinals used to be able to have a walkover, and they don't anymore. It seems like, and the Cardinals started off their first 3 games against the Central with 3 losses to Milwaukee. Seems like, A, the walkover isn't there like it used to be, and losing those 20 games were a pretty valuable commodity for the Cardinals. It seems like they really need to clean up in the division these days.
And clean up at home, too. I mean, since the start of last season, they're 39-52, so that winning percentage is around .425. So far this season at home, they're 4-6. Against teams that are 500 or better, they're 4-9. So take it a little step further, Randy. I think not only inside your division, because it's going to be tough. It's a real thing when they play outside the division. It's not as easy as playing the NL Central teams, although the Central's off to a pretty good start, generally speaking. But they got to play better at home. I mean, you make hay at home, you got a chance to win. Play better than 500 at home. Mm-hmm. You know, all of a sudden, some of the losses don't look as bad as you extend throughout the season. You have to be better at Busch Stadium.
No doubt.
I actually like the balanced schedule a little bit, because then you get to see more of the different competition around the league and see how the Cardinals stack up against it. It was fun, of course, having some of those divisional games, which you still have, but it felt like it was a little bit too frequently at times, and it might have been easier to build momentum, but at least moving forward, you can know how your talent truly stacks up against other teams.
Do you really want to see it?
I want to see it. I want to see it.
See, when the Cardinals made the playoffs a couple of years ago, 19 games against the division, they were 48-28 against Pittsburgh, the Cubs, Milwaukee, and the Reds. They were 20 games over against those teams, and you lose an extra 20 games, and now all of a sudden that might turn into, at best, 10-10 against other teams in baseball.
It's like a 2-for-1 inside your division, too. I mean, you win those games, you gain a game, you lose a game, and I just look at you got to take care of business at home inside your division. And when you get swept by Milwaukee over the weekend, it's tough. I mean, those are the kind of series that are tough to come back from. Now, last night certainly helps, but being better at home and being better inside the division, that's where the Cardinals, I think, are going to be able to make the playoffs, or at least be in contention if they can get those 2 elements of their schedule righted.
Mm-hmm. The other part of this used to be that you could win in September because almost all of your division September games were in the division.
And also teams that were down had all their prospects up too.
That's a great point. Now you have the 28-man rather than the 40-man roster.
Right.
So people are going with better players. This year, as an example, in September, the Cardinals, they go to Milwaukee for the first second, third, and fourth of September. Then they've got Seattle, Cincinnati. They go to Toronto. They do get Pittsburgh here, but then they've got Cleveland. They go to Colorado, and they wind up at the Giants. So there's not as many opportunities to make up ground in September as there used to be.
Now, as a fan, I'm with Brooke. I want to see Mike Trout. I want to see some of these guys that come through that I normally would not be able to see in years past. But from a strategic standpoint and a winning standpoint, how do the Cardinals fare against those teams? So far, it could be rough the way that things have started.
I think it would have been just so easy. Here's the frustration that I have, is all baseball needed to do was steal from football. And you've got, just like football, you've got the division set up. So you could see every player in baseball every third year, just like in the NFL, where you got to see Manning or Brady every third year. And with the division setup, you could have maintained the rivalries. Play 18 games in your division, play 10 games against everybody else, and you're good. And I just don't understand why baseball didn't do it that way.
I love, though, seeing those players come through, and I'm with you. It just makes it really tough. I mean, when you're expected to win this Central Division, and by all accounts, I think we all went into the season as looking at the Cardinals and saying that they're going to have a shot or at least be in contention. And I talked to Ali about this, and the way that when he says it's a real thing, then that's his way of saying this is tough. And I remember talking to him in the offseason, and we were visiting, and he said, and I asked him, I said, what's it like playing these teams? You're going to see everybody once a year. And he said, it's a real thing. It's stacking up against the rest of the baseball schedule. But you know what? Everybody's got to do it, and that's the beauty of this thing, too.
That's today's Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Incarnate Word coach Dan Rolfes suffered a major heart attack last month as his team was playing for the state championship, getting ready for the state championship game in Columbia. And his first interview was conducted yesterday by our own Dan McLaughlin. And we're going to hear from Coach Rolfes next here on 101 ESPN. Daniel, yesterday you had a chance to talk to a guy that we are fortunate to still have with us, the head coach at Incarnate Word, Dan Rolfes.
Yeah, and Dan reached out to me because so many have been reaching out to him, whether it be on a personal level or in the media, and he wanted to make sure and get the word out on his status. So he is the head coach at Incarnate Word, the women's team, and they are second to none. They are one of the best teams and best programs in the history of high school basketball. He was coaching in the state championship games. He suffered a heart attack, went into a coma, and literally his life was touch and go. And so many across the country have wanted to know his current status, and these are his first public comments since that incident.
All things considered, I'm doing well.
Well, you sound great. You sound strong. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I'm getting stronger every day. Just going through a lot of rehab and some dialysis, and I'm moving around, and I'm trying to, kind of the mindset that I'm just trying to do more than I did yesterday.
Tell me a little bit, for fans that listen to this and they don't know the full extent of what you went through, can you describe, starting from the day that it happened to what you went through?
Yeah, for one, I don't remember anything that whole day, even in the morning before. So everything that I'm telling you is what, my wife, Lisa, has told me. It's just crazy. I guess that's how the brain works to shut a trauma out. But after the semifinal game, which again, I don't remember one bit of it. I wasn't feeling right, and my wife Lisa's a nurse, and she said, "Let's get in the car. We'll go to the ER." We got in the car. We went about 20 feet, and then that's when I had my heart attack. So Lisa and my daughter dragged me out of the car. She started CPR. Called 911. And Lisa's, really saved my life by starting the CPR that fast. Paramedics got there, brought me to Missouri, University of Missouri Hospital. They worked on me for over an hour and said you shocked me 27 times. And they just kept working and working and working, and finally got me back. So just kind of crazy.
It really is. What are the emotions for you when you speak about what your daughter was able to do for you?
Yeah, and it's just, honestly, it makes me sad that she had to witness that. But at least, I just think that I'm glad to be here for her to witness me being alive and us to carry on. And, it was my daughter, Kate, who, I was my sidekick for forever. I drug her to every single basketball game, and because she's my youngest and the other kids had stuff going on. So she was, my basketball girl, and, coached her for 4 years at Incarnate, and I hate to see me like that.
I would imagine, though, if you asked her, she'd probably say, "I'm so happy that I was there to do this for my dad." And I'm assuming that's what you've gotten from her.
Yeah, obviously the result turned out in a positive way. So if it was the opposite, I'm not sure how great that would have been.
One of the reasons we wanted to do this interview, and you had contacted me about this, was you wanted to get the word out that, hey, I'm healthy. My mental capacities are 100%. I'm on the mend, and I'm feeling good. And that's why we wanted to do this, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I know, we had a caring bridge to try and keep people updated on what was going on. But at the same time, we just wanted some family privacy. But what that did was just have everybody speculate that, I had brain damage and, my functioning wasn't great. So, I just heard so many rumors out there of my condition. So, I'm never the smartest person in the world, and never was, but I'm back to where I was before this. I fully intend to coach again next year and hopefully get back on the court sometime this summer. It's just more of a physical, I'm just going through PT and cardiac rehab, and I just got to get my body to where it's conditioned to be able to, to work again and coach.
Is that your motivation, Dan? I mean, outside of some of the obvious things, but getting on a sideline and coaching kids and mentoring many of these kids?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what everybody keeps asking. Do you want to coach? Do you think you want to do this again? And I'm like, absolutely. I mean, that's what I do. And the coaching's not the reason I had a heart attack. Most of it's hereditary. My motivation is absolutely to get back on the court. And, I love my team at Incarnate, and, I love doing our Knights Basketball Academy and working with the young kids. And I mean, I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Oh, by the way, Dan, congratulations on your state title. There is some positive things going on here.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I was just super proud of our Incarnate girls that kind of rocked their world. And it's just, it's just super proud of them. I know that was hard for them, but they got the job done.
What's your day-to-day like physically to get back on the sidelines? What do you have to do?
So, first I've got to sleep better. Sleep just determines your whole day. So I've been having a hard time sleeping. I still have a lot of fluid on my body, and it's hard to sleep. I have in-home rehab. They'll either come to here to do some rehab, or I do it on my own. I have dialysis, and that's really kind of what's been the issue right now is my kidneys are not working properly. So I've got dialysis 3 days a week. So I'm doing that. And then, I'm just trying to walk. So I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just trying to walk three to four times a day, for 5 to 10 minutes. I just walk down the street and back. I mean, my neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but, I'm so glad it's getting nice out. But just trying to walk and get back to a little bit of, physically back to normal.
Dan, has this opened up a community of people that you never thought that you may be talking to or inspiring because of the things that you have gone through and then what you're doing to get back right now?
I don't know if I'm inspiring anybody, but I've had quite a few people reach out that had something similar or espoused something similar that I know that I didn't know happened to them. So, but what's been the neatest thing for me is just to see how many people have reached out, either social media or text or in, mail, email. It's just how many people followed. I think there was like 45,000 people watching the Karen Bridge. So, I just look at myself as I'm a girls basketball coach, just trying to do the best I can. But obviously there's been a lot of people who have followed us, and I guess I just don't realize how far, the tentacles reach.
What would you say to those people? You can't respond to everybody, and some people you probably don't even know who they are, but they reached out various ways, as you mentioned. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the support and the prayers and everything that, they've shown to me and to my family. You're right, I can't reach out to everybody. I didn't even turn my phone on until last week, and I had, like 600 texts, which, so many people, I appreciate it. But I'll never be able to reach out to everybody who sent a kind word or a letter or just said a prayer for me. So if this gets out to them, I just want to thank them, and it's greatly appreciated, and keep the prayers coming because it's not over yet.
How has it changed, and this is an obvious question in one way, how it's changed your life, but how is it also, and you were a guy full of life, full of zest in how you coach and how you approach with people and how you deal with people, but how has it changed at all, if at all, for Dan Rolfes?
I think you just take a lot of things for granted. You just take for granted you're going to, coach a game, and then you're going to go home and watch film and then coach the state championship game. And then after that, you're going to move on to, to the springtime, and you just take so many things for granted, and it's hard to say, but you can't take anything for granted, and you just have to appreciate, every day. And honestly, Dan, every day I wake up, I thank God that I woke up.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is the medical team. I'm sure you have just incredible thoughts towards them and how they handled your situation.
The people at Mizzou were great, and the craziest thing is the nurses literally text my wife Lisa today just to ask how we were doing, and the nurses were fantastic, and obviously the doctors did a remarkable job. They worked on me for almost 2 days. 2 days after this all happened, I coded again, and they had to shock me again. Obviously some amazing doctors there. And then, moving to Barnes, we just needed to get closer, and I needed to get a better kidney doctor here to take care of, what was going on. So, and the doctors at Barnes were fantastic. And it just so happens one of my first ever friend, my neighbor, Lisa Kester, works at Barnes and works in that department. And literally we were friends at 2 years old, and, she's a nurse practitioner, has helped me just tremendously, and comes to my dialysis and just is on my side. So she's been huge.
You mentioned you want to come back coaching. What does your family think about that, and also the medical team that's with you? What do they feel about that? Is that a carrot that they want you to go for, or are they like, Dan, you may want to sit a few out?
No, I mean, they know it's what I do. I would drive them crazy if I was home and not coaching. As long as I'm physically able to, they fully support, and there was honestly never any doubt that I was going to go back to coaching. So if I wasn't coaching, I'd drive them crazy.
You sound upbeat, Dan. You sound great. Do you feel that way when you do things like this?
Yeah, no, it's great to talk to you and 28 days in the hospital, and then, pretty restricted at home. I initially wasn't very receptive to visitors, but then now, the people are coming. And then, yesterday we were able to get out and to do something with the, extended family, and talking to you. It's just so nice to just have some sort of normalcy.
You mentioned that at times you can take things for granted. And I'll wrap it up with this. What do you reflect on that you say, I'm never going to take that for granted again?
I'm never going to take waking up every single day for granted again. And seeing my family and, my wife, Lisa, who's been a rock. She's spent every single night with me in the hospital. A lot of times you take your family and, a lot of things for granted. And I will never take a day, me waking up and a day with them for granted ever again.
Dan, God bless you, man. Thank you so much for everything you've done for high school sports and will continue to do. And, we'll be watching, and we want you to get back on that sideline as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Class act. That's Dan Rolfes, and we appreciate the time that you listeners gave us to make sure and give the word out there to not only high school basketball fans, but just our community. He's meant so much to the St. Louis community. They won the state title. They have won 131 straight, and amazingly, guys, he wants to get back on the sidelines, which is just incredible. And very quickly, my kids played for Dan Rolfes in the Knights program. He runs an incredible basketball program with a lot of former players and whatnot, and they get great teaching and coaching from him. And he said he expects to be back out there this summer, which is just great news for Dan and his family.
I'm sure he wants to, is the biggest thing. And just listening to that interview, I mean, how do you not get emotional listening to that? I just get emotional thinking about the fact that he is able to come back and get back to doing what he loves.
Yeah, and another great lesson for everybody that's listening. If you have chest pain, go to a doctor and get to an ER and get it looked at, because Dan, he wasn't thinking about it. Fortunately, his daughter was there, his wife was there, but he's coaching a game. He's talking to the media, and he felt something, but he didn't know it was that serious. And you never know when it's that serious, and that's why you need to make sure that you don't try to power through something like that.
I don't know about you guys. I was floored when I asked him, "Are you going to coach again?" "Oh yeah, I'm a bothersome guy at home, so I'm going to drive everybody crazy. I already am, and I'm getting back on the sidelines," which is just great news for basketball fans.
Yeah.
And I know that his family, as he said, the University of Missouri Hospital was incredible,
Yes.
and they're very thankful.
And he mentioned the doctors here with what he's dealing with his kidneys, and he said they just have been exceptional. The care that he's gotten has been exceptional. So kudos to the medical field here in St. Louis.
Yes, it really. I mean, I'm so glad that he is back. He is doing better, and he's going to get back to doing what he loves here soon. That was
amazing.
Such a great interview, Dan. Thank you.
Great job. We have a winner from the fight yesterday getting ready for today's fight. We'll have that for you next year on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals bats coming alive against the Diamondbacks last night. Down 3-1 in the sixth inning, the Cardinals took advantage of 3 consecutive walks to load the bases before Lars Nootbaar delivered a 2-run single, the first RBI base hit in 21 innings for the Cardinals. Paul Goldschmidt tied the game up in the 7th with a solo home run, and Nolan Gorman sealed the victory with his first career walk-off, a 2-run homer to help the Cardinals beat the Diamondbacks 5-3. On the mound, Lance Lynn allowed 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and struck out 7 over 5 innings of work. Your Redbirds are back in action tonight. First pitch is at 6:45 with Steven Matz on the mound.
The Redbird report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Hey, I often talk to you about my friends at AutoLoanPro.com, and a couple of weeks ago, it turned out I needed to get a new vehicle. It was kind of an emergency situation. I needed to get a vehicle, and I went to AutoLoanPro.com. I downloaded their playbook, and in the blink of an eye, I got a new vehicle. Within 2 days, I had a new vehicle in my driveway. And man, the Auto Loan Pro people make it so easy. They're talking with over 50 lenders to make sure that you get the best deal on your credit. And by the way, if you can make a payment, Auto Loan Pro can get you in a new vehicle, but they're going to get you the best rate and the best payment. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I got exactly what I wanted from AutoLoanPro.com. And they also, when you go to the website, they have a drop-down menu so that you can pick out vehicles. You can find a new vehicle for yourself. It's amazing what they do for St. Louisans at AutoLoanPro.com. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, you needed a vehicle in an emergency, or you just want to trade one in and upgrade, do it at AutoLoanPro.com. Do what I did. Tell them Randy sent you when you go to AutoLoanPro.com.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals' big walk-off win last night, and everyone broke some streaks. Cardinals broke their streaks of no home runs, and it was personally done by Paul Goldschmidt and Gorman, who broke streaks of their own, including Gorman getting his first walk-off home run. The Cardinals will be back in action looking for another W tonight against the Diamondbacks. 6:45 first pitch, and it's a battle of the lefties. Tommy Henry for the Diamondbacks with a 6.87 ERA this season, facing off against Steven Matz, him with a 3.6 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Danny Mac, and Randy and Rocchio here, and it is time for the fight. And we are bringing back a fighter today. That is Dan. Dan, how are you doing?
Good. How you doing, Brooke?
I'm doing great. How are you feeling after yesterday's victory?
I couldn't sleep all night. I've been waiting for this. Wow.
Now, Dan, it was Dan and Danny Mac. I'll say Danny Mac for you.
Okay, that works.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, Dan
I got to say something here.
Yes.
Because Brooke was getting ready to set up the fight here, and Matthew has a way of, if he hits a button, it goes in our ears, and then I can't hear what's going on the air. All I heard was Dan, and I almost fell out of my seat. He meant to say to Brooke, who's the fighter, and to me, the fighter is Dan. I heard Dan in my ear, and I almost fell out of my seat. So I'm shaking a little bit right now, Dan, the caller, and hopefully that you win today and take down Randy, but hopefully I read these questions okay for you. I just had to throw that out there.
It shocked you for a second.
It did shock me, I'm telling you. Well, here we go. Let's do it.
All right, ready for question number one, Dan?
Yep.
Which current Major League Baseball franchise was at one time known as the Bean Eaters? Was it the Braves, the Red Sox, or the Tigers?
Gotta go Red Sox.
Okay. Question two. Again, I hope I read this properly. I'm a little nervous. In the Super Bowl era, there are only 3 QBs to lead the league in passing touchdowns for multiple teams. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and which old school QB? Was it Fran Tarkington, Roman Gabriel, or Warren Moon?
Warren Moon.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Dan is shaky over here because he just lost his Sharpie for a second.
I tried to open it up and it went flying out of my hands.
Question 3, other Dan. Which Cardinal outfielder is the only player to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning against the Redbirds, doing so in 2003 before joining the Cardinals later in his career? Is it Reggie Sanders, Larry Walker, or Matt Holliday?
Matt Holliday. Final answer.
And question 4, Connor McDavid came up short of the playoff record of 6 assists with a 5 spot last night, something that 2 different Blues have done. Doug Gilmour in the 80s and this winger in the 90s. Was it Rod Brindamore, Brian Benning, or Jeff Courtnall? Did you say Courtnall, Dan? Okay, got it. All right. Let me go grab Randall.
Dan, how are you feeling?
About the same as yesterday.
Well, yesterday worked out well for you, so I think that should be a good feeling going into today. Did you go around town and maybe brag a little bit? Or you said you were nervous last night, but did you at least enjoy yesterday for a little bit, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. Wow, I actually beat the Randy. Unbelievable.
The Megamind. And now Megamind is in the room right now. Finished his grapes. Randy, say hi to Dan again.
Yep. I finished my grapes, yep.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, because yesterday, if you remember, Dan, he did not finish his grapes completely yet.
That's right, yep.
Today, he made sure to finish them. You ready for question number 1, Randy?
Ready.
Which current Major League Baseball franchise was at one time known as the Bean Eaters?
I think for Boston baked beans, right? I would go with the Red Sox, the Boston Bean Eaters. That makes sense. I'm going to go with Boston.
Okay. And you're going with the Red Sox?
Red Sox, yes.
Okay. In the Super Bowl era, there are only 3 QBs to lead the league in passing touchdowns from multiple teams. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and which old school QB?
Old school in the Super Bowl era. In the essence of time here, Daniel, I'm going to use the old lifeline.
All right. Fran Tarkington, Roman Gabriel, or Warren Moon?
Well, it wasn't Roman Gabriel. So it's either Moon, who did a lot with the Oilers. But I'm going to go with Fran Tarkenton, Giants and Vikings. I'm going to say that he did it. He is old school. Go with Fran Tarkenton, please.
All right, question 3. Which Cardinal outfielder is the only player to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning against the Redbirds, doing so in 2003 before joining the Cardinals later in his career?
2 home runs in 1 inning against the Redbirds, and then joined the Cardinals later in his career. Don't have a lifeline here. Let's see. Who would that have been? I'll 2003. I guess I'll go Reggie Sanders.
Where'd you pull that one from?
Just he was signed in 2004, I think. I was thinking either he or Juan E.
Okay. You ready for question 4?
Yeah.
Connor McDavid came up short of the playoff record of 6 assists with a 5 spot last night. Something that 2 different Blues have done. Doug Gilmour in the 80s and this winger in the 90s.
This winger in the 90s had 5 assists in 1 game. Before you said winger, I was going to go with Oates or Janney, but I'm not now. And I'm not going to go with Hully, even though he was a pretty good passer. In the 90s. I'm late 90s. Who would this have been? You know, they scored a lot of... Shanny was here for a couple of playoff runs. It's probably somebody that's obscure. So I'm going to go with, just because the name is out there. Nah, it can't be Shanny. Bob Bassett was a center. Somebody who is a 90s. I'm going to go later 90s then. I guess I'll go Dimitra. They got him in the late 90s. I'll go Dimitra.
Okay, Matthew.
We have another tiebreaker today for Dan and Randy. Ooh. We'll go through the rules really quickly for the listeners because Dan knows the rules. He already did this yesterday. I'm going to read out the question. We're going to give Randy a moment to write down his answer. Then after he's written down his answer and shown everyone here in the studio, we will then get the audible answer from Dan. Dan, do you understand those rules?
Yes.
Randy, do you understand those?
I do.
All right, do you have paper?
I do.
All right, I held back from a normal question about Fernando Tatis, but it is Fernando Tatis Day, so I'm going to get one in here in the tiebreaker. On this day in 1999, Fernando Tatis had arguably, and I don't think it's that arguable, the greatest offensive inning in MLB history with his 2 grand slams and record 8 RBI. That was the 3rd inning against the Dodgers. How many total runs did the Cardinals score in that inning? You know Fernando got 8 RBI, but how many total runs did the Cardinals score in that 3rd inning on this day in 1999 against the Dodgers? Just a moment, Dan. Randy Carricker is writing down his answer.
I'm going to change. There we go.
Hope you guys aren't too close. Ooh, Randy Carricker with a guess. All right. Randy has his guess in. Dan, what is your guess, sir?
I'm going to go with 12, the amount of inches in a foot.
I will too.
Randy went with 12 and you went with 12.
Randy went with 12 and you went with 12. Wow, how about that? Look at that. How about that? All right, fair enough.
Closest to the pin.
Does it just carry over till tomorrow, or do we have another question?
No, it doesn't carry over to tomorrow. We actually need another tiebreaker question, and I have... Where's my other tiebreaker? That's the thing. I got to sit here with another tiebreaker. There it is. Okay, here we go.
Okay, what is it?
I didn't have that. No, that second one. Okay, here we go. All right. Andrew Jones who is criminally not in the Hall of Fame, one of the best center fielders ever, won a lot of Gold Gloves, was also a pretty good hitter. How many Silver Sluggers did he win? Randy Carricker with a guess. All right, Randy Carricker has his guess in.
He does have his guess in.
What is your guess, Dan, for the Silver Sluggers by Andrew Jones?
I was going to go 3.
All right, he guessed 3 Silver Slugger awards. Randy Carricker, how many are you going with for Andrew Jones?
I guessed 8.
The man won 10 Gold Gloves, but how many Silver Slugger awards did he win? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Average Joe Listener.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Congratulations, Dan. You beat Randy again. This is shocking to me, and this is why it was used as a tiebreaker question.
Just win, baby.
Andrew Jones.
Oh, Dan.
Andrew Jones was awarded with 1 Silver Slugger in his career. It was the year he hit 51 home runs and 130 RBIs. He did not pick up another Silver Slugger, shockingly, because, well, the NL was, in fairness, stacked offensively in the early 2000s. You had Sammy Sosa, you had Barry Bonds. There was just people all over the place in the NL winning Silver Slugger. So just 1 for Andrew Jones, and that means that Dan is the winner in today's fight. Let's go through the questions and the answers today. Which current MLB franchise was at one time known as the Bean Eaters? From 1883 to 1906, they were known as the Bean Eaters. They would eventually change their name to the Boston Braves and would eventually move out of Boston. The Braves were one time known as the Boston Bean Eaters. In Super Bowl era, there are only 3 quarterbacks to lead the league in passing touchdowns for multiple teams. Brett Favre came very close. Warren Moon came very close. Fran Tarkenton came 1 away from doing it. Roman Gabriel actually did it with his one of his last years with the Rams in his first year in Philadelphia. He was one of the league leaders in Philadelphia. It was, in fact, Reggie Sanders with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2003 who launched 2 homers against the Cardinals. He obviously would join the Cardinals just a season later. And Connor McDavid came up short of the playoff record of 6 assists. By the way, Mario Lemieux is one of the people who holds that. Wayne Gretzky, not a guy with 6 assists, shockingly enough. Something that 2 different Blues have done. Doug Gilmour did in the 80s, and it was Jeff Cornell in the 1998 playoffs against the LA Kings, where he racked up 5 assists and a goal in that game. Probably the most impressive playoff performance for a St. Louis Blues. So a 1-1 tie. Dan wins it again in the tiebreaker. So, Dan, you will have your shot at the Hall of Fame tomorrow. Have fun beating your chest about this one later today.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, Dan. Congratulations. Good job by Dan here on 101 ESPN.
Randy, how are you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah?
I feel good.
Hall of Fame chance for Dan tomorrow.
Hall of Fame chance.
You got to take care of business.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
I know exactly what Randy's imagining right now.
What is he imagining?
It's the 4-0 win he gets when after Dan gets in the Hall of Fame and he doesn't have the options anymore.
Oh, he doesn't get options tomorrow?
No, after he gets in the Hall of Fame, he doesn't get options anymore.
I got you.
And that's when Randy starts steepling his hands a little bit.
I got
You
you.
think he's? When's the last time we had a Hall of Famer?
It was
That's a good question.
February of last year. It's been over a year.
Okay.
What a killer!
Is that your mic drop moment right there?
No,
Full on, just Jamal Murray at the end of the game. Give him the ball and let him cook.
By the way, was that the game that Cardinal ran Jamie Storr that he had the 5 assists too? I
was thinking that's what it was against L.A.
Yeah. So, pretty good. Hey, coming up, is the transfer portal causing college football to be trash? Somebody that's a pretty prominent college football alum thinks so. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Tuesday morning, let me tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. This is Danny Mack, and if you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He will help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. And you may be asking, well, just how fast, Danny Mac? Well, I'll tell you. Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan. You hear us talk about that as well, and that can help you out too. So what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. So Stewart is your guy. He makes it so easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Call him directly. Personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google, the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Yeah, I think it's trash, to be honest with you. Just at what point, like, what do the games mean now? Because during my time, or during our time especially, like, you had to win each and every week. And now you can have a couple slip-ups and as long as you're in the top 12. And then at what point does it stop? Because during my time, it was BCS era, and whoever was number 3 was, pissed off that they weren't number 2 in the final 2. But it's done the same thing. They thought this playoff committee was going to be able to solve every issue. And it was, now if you're number 13, you're going to be mad that you're number 13 and not in the top 12. So it really didn't solve anything at all.
That's Battlehawks quarterback A.J. McCarron in studio yesterday. Of course, when he was at Alabama, they won a couple of championships, and the question was asked, what do you think? Brooke asked, what do you think of the transfer portal and the NIL? And he said, I think college football is trash right now. And the lack of ability to build a program has certainly caused the game to not be what it was. I still think that the college football product is pretty awesome. I don't think it's as good as it was, but I don't think it's trash. I think it's really, really good.
I don't think it's trash either, because I still watch it. And, of course, I'm a huge fan of the SEC, and I like watching the SEC a lot. And so if I am able to see more teams with the 12-team playoff format, then I'm going to enjoy that. But I think the part that he's talking about the most that I resonate with is the transfer portal. I don't know how you fix that, but something needs to be done here. And you could argue, well, coaches can leave whenever they want, and they can go somewhere else. That's always the argument, right? But it seems like there's also an issue here. When we talked about the NCAA tournament, even with basketball, where you're starting to not recognize players as much because you're not building up that team chemistry. There's so many transfers that are going in and out of universities. And it's interesting because Eli Drinkwitz was just asked about this the other day, about the transfer portal. And he said, we're in such an instant gratification era. We're trying to skip the step of adversity and growth, but we're going to have to face it. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. Sometimes you're just trading one set of problems for another.
I think it's great for the kids. Let them get paid. I mean, the coaches have been making their money. College football, NCAA makes their money. NCAA tournament for, is a $6 billion to $8 billion industry. And it's, in terms of what he said about the playoff, it's better than it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to watch the playoff. If it's 12 teams, so then you get to 24 teams, and then number 25 is upset. You're going to have everybody get upset to an extent, but I still think it's better for the product.
And it seems to me there's an easy fix. If you're concerned about the quality of the product, and I know for whatever reason, the NCAA has been vehemently against the idea of having the athletes be employees, but sign them to a 3-year contract. Nobody's leaving. If you're signed to a 3-year contract as an athlete, nobody's transferring out because you're under contract to the school.
And don't you think that players will stay if they're in the playoff? You know, if you're Ohio State against Mizzou and Marvin Harrison and some of the top players sit and some of the Missouri top players sit because the game essentially is meaningless in the scheme of things. Yeah, you may finish top 10. That's great. I mean, there's momentum and it's fun for your fan base. But if you're in the college football playoff, I think if you're one of the top 12 teams, these kids decide to play in the playoff games, which is better for the product that you have at the end of the season.
And that's what you're selling, right? When you're on TV, you're selling to ESPN that you're going to have the best players on the field.
I watch just about every bowl game because I like to help my friends and what they do on little side action.
Of course.
And so I need to watch. And so I can tell you this, though. He is right. In watching some of the games, I had no idea who these kids were. But I didn't care. I wanted to watch football. And the other thing is, I'll go back to it. If you have a non-meaningless bowl game, these kids will stay and play. They're not going to say, I'm worried about getting hurt. I'm worried about winning the national championship, which is what they did the entire regular season. So I think that carries over to the playoff.
Now, and we're to the point to what you're saying, Randy, too, about you should just pay the players. Does that also mean sharing the revenue as well? If there is something you're going to have to create, also some sort of association for those players where they're represented properly, do you see the SEC and even the Big Ten with all the revenue they bring in, sharing the revenue? Because that's what would be the other step of that.
Yeah, I think there was an Ivy League basketball team that unionized. Who was it? Yale might have been.
It was Yale.
Yeah, and so that's what the players are going to have to do. They're going to have to develop a players association and negotiate with the schools, and have a salary cap and have shared revenue. That's the only way to make it work where you're going to have a premium product. Now, I have to believe that the schools like this too. For years, the dirty little secret in sports is that those players that didn't come back to school, they got run off. The schools did not hold up their end of the bargain either. And there were, how often would you see a new basketball coach come in and he'd have 7 or 8 new players on his team the next year, right? That's because he ran people off. And now they can leave too.
What if you asked A.J. McCarron, what did he think about not making money at Alabama, being a local kid, and then look at his coach,
Randy?
Well, let's just say, for argument's sake, that he did not take anything. Okay, and his coach is, making millions of dollars, opening up car dealerships, and has become, what do you think, an $80 to $100 million coach over the course of the years? Is that fair? I don't think so. Let the players get a piece of the pie. Now, he was generating. Let me say this. He was worth every penny because he's generating so much money for the school. But to Brooks' point, the kids need to have some type of part of that pie. It needs to be.
100%. And I think right now is the way they can make it work because players are getting their market value, right? It's the quarterback is going to get a couple $1 million. The reserve defensive tackle isn't going to get as much because the players theoretically should be selling their own name, image, likeness, and it should be the laws of supply and demand. Now, other things are happening because of the collectives. A player can come in and say, or a school can say, even though they aren't supposed to, we'll give you this much money to come and play for us. But in theory, the system is supposed to be the one that works. I just don't think ultimately it will.
No. And the thing is another point that AJ made, which a great interview where he talked about college football overall and the state of things currently that everybody should go back and listen to, is another point that he made. And Randy, I don't know if you heard him say this, but he talked about the fact that the NCAA had a chance to really get in front of this and be in the forefront where they could also remain relevant in this, because now they're trying to come in on the back end and trying to impose infractions on different schools and things like that to show that they have some sort of power. They've lost their power in this situation. They had a chance to really control it from the beginning.
Ed O'Bannon wanted to settle with the NCAA, and the NCAA kept taking it to appeal. Finally, it goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, nope, the athlete is right. He's entitled to his name, image, and likeness money. And the NCAA from that point on was screwed because the cat is out of the bag, the horse is out of the barn, whatever you want to say. The NCAA screwed it up.
Every player in Major League Baseball should know about Curt Flood.
Yep.
Yes.
And every college athlete should find out about Ed O'Bannon.
Right.
And say, this guy took on the NCAA. He went through a lot with it, and all the players now are going to have a chance to benefit from it. I would say this, too. If you're living in town, I think, and you're a Billiken basketball fan, you're pretty happy with the transfer portal.
Oh, yeah.
It's working out pretty well right now for the Billikens.
Yeah. I think the only issue with the transfer portal will be being able to build a program. And it is what it is because you were going to lose players every 2 or 3 years in college anyway, right? Now you might lose them every year. But if you're really good, like Mizzou, they lost Lockett a couple of years ago. Mizzou hasn't really lost anybody super important
I was thinking
to their
about
program.
that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
They've been able to retain the good majority of their talent.
Yeah, so if you do it right, I think you can keep players around. But now with the new rules that are in place that were ratified yesterday, any player can move and play for his new team instantly.
You know what I think worked for Dennis Gates in his first year is, one, you were able to have Kobe Brown, and he was able to benefit from NIL, a player who stuck through a lot of different adversity, knew the culture of what they wanted with Mizzou and the program, and then you were still able to bring in some transfer portals who were able to learn from Kobe Brown and different things like that.
Right. That is huge. Building a culture, right?
Exactly.
And that's hard to establish now.
Pay these kids. Just pay them. Make sure they're getting their piece of the pie.
Yeah, that is going to happen forever now. They will get
and
their
I think it's right.
money. Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City, and it's over 100 years old, and we love it, but we don't exactly love our main bathroom. So we decided it was time to make a big change, and so we reached out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team came over to our house for a free consultation, and they came up with a vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their amazing showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all the different cabinet options. Of course, picking out the new colors for our bathroom was my favorite part. Jen was the one who was working with us, and she has just been fantastic. She really came up with a lot of great ideas that fit within our budget. And really, as I mentioned, this is the first time we've done anything like this before, so she helped us a lot with the design aspect of our bathroom, too. And that's what they've been doing there at E&B Granite for over 20 years, turning visions into realities. So go and schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their showroom today and mention that I sent you.
RNRTires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
The Cardinals with a dramatic walk-off home run from Nolan Gorman last night. They knocked off Arizona in the opener of a 3-game series at the ballpark by a score of 5-3. Same two teams will go at it tonight at Busch Stadium and then wrap up the series tomorrow afternoon. Last night's game, good performance from the Cardinal bullpen after Lance Lynn gave the Cardinals 5 innings, 3 earned runs. Ryan Fernandez came on with a scoreless inning. Andrew Kittredge came on with a scoreless inning and a third. Romero with a scoreless 2/3 of an inning, and then Helsley closed things out. Cardinals got a solo home run from Paul Goldschmidt and also a big hit from Lars Nootbaar, a couple of RBIs. The Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation are happy today.
Oh, the Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation are assembling today, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very exciting day because what he was able to do, but also you're very excited for the fact that you were able to get things going for Paul Goldschmidt and more importantly, Nolan Gorman. Now, I believe that Nolan Gorman, it's hard. You have to remind yourself that he's just 23 years old, but he's going to be a streaky hitter. But what he was able to do there, coming off the bench and delivering his first career walk-off winner there, and a 2-run homer to help the Cardinals win was a huge moment for him, and I'm sure a huge sigh of relief because it snapped a streak of 34 at-bats without a home run or an RBI for Gorman, and Paul Goldschmidt needed that as well, of course.
Yeah, lefty-lefty matchup for Nolan Gorman, and he hits the home run, comes through at the right time, and then Goldschmidt, I keep bringing up this point, but he hits it to right center, so letting the ball get deep, trusting his hands, that's a big thing for him. When usually he's right, you're going to see him drive the ball either over the wall or through to the gaps in right center. So that's big. I think it might have been the biggest game of the year, and I don't think I'm overstating that with what happened over the weekend, considering the offense struggling, and you get a couple of big hits, Goldschmidt and Gorman. Goldie came in hitting 179. Gorman was 169, so... Yeah, you needed that game big time last night.
And I don't think that you're understating it. This was very much needed, especially with how they performed against the Brewers this past weekend. We talked about it yesterday. They just looked lifeless. And, of course, you're not going to look excited when you're struggling, but it just felt like they were not competitive. They looked lost, of course, and it didn't work out for them this past weekend. And just to see some more life in that dugout again, I think was needed.
And tonight, the Cardinals will play that 6:45 game. Steven Matz will go against Tommy Henry of Arizona, the left-hander, youngster, 6.87 earned run average. He's 0-1. So the Cardinals will be back in action tonight, and tickets are still available. Last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs, a lot of interesting action going on so far in these playoffs, and the home teams have been really good. The Maple Leafs do win at Boston by a score of 3-2. That series now even at a game apiece. Hurricanes win at home over the Islanders 5-3. Carolina up 2-0 in that series. Vegas wins at Dallas 4-3. That's game 1 of that series. So Vegas up 1-0. And the Oilers over the Kings 7-4. Connor McDavid 5 assists for Edmonton, and Edmonton leads that series 1-0.
Bless you, Rocchio. He sneezed during that. We are battling on this side of the room. We're battling allergies over here, and it seems like it's not affecting you guys whatsoever. I'm doing everything. I'm doing the nasal spray. I'm doing Claritin, and I just wake up and my eyes are itchy, nose runny, stuffy. I need help.
Do you ever use that thing that where you clean out your sinuses? They like stick it up your nose.
Oh, the
Navage.
Neti pot? Oh, yeah, Navage.
The neti pot.
Yeah, same thing, I think. Do you ever use that?
I have before.
I think I would
it's not
drown.
Fun. Yes, you've never used it before?
No.
Are you serious?
I'd rather have a stuffy nose. No chance.
What? We got to study your nose then, because for you to be able to not have any sort of sinus infection or anything like that ever, where you've ever needed that, really?
Never. How about you, Danny?
No, I have not. It looks uncomfortable. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be sneezing all day.
It's relieving when you finally. It's a little scary at first. It does feel like what I assume what waterboarding would feel like, but then once you get past that, it's very, very nice.
Okay.
One of my favorite narratives for Cardinals fans is being terrified of lefties they've never heard of. We got a text from 618. Great young lefty with an ERA above 6.6. All right, and we think he's going to shut out the Cardinals about 7 innings.
Yeah, probably.
It's every time.
Yep. Last night in the NBA, Cavaliers over the Magic, 96-86. Late game, Nuggets over the Lakers, 101-99. Surprise, LeBron James complained about the officiating. And then a wild one. Knicks come back and beat the Sixers, 104-101. A pair of three-pointers within 12 seconds of each other with 45 seconds left, or 47, and then about 25 seconds left. And the Knicks come back and stun the Sixers, 104-101. And Joel Embiid said, unacceptable, unacceptable.
He was upset.
Impression.
Yeah. He was.
Where's the timeout? Call the timeout. Get it awarded. Didn't happen. That was the game.
Shouldn't be that hard. Shouldn't be, but it is. There is your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Mizzou. Took a while, but it looks like they have their new athletic director. And it's someone who was just in the news for what he did at his old school. That's next on 101 ESPN. There's so many great things about Chesterfield Fence and Deck out in Chesterfield Valley. Their number 800-300-4054. And if you want to find them on the web and make an appointment there, you can go to chesterfieldfence.com. They've been in business for 56 years over at Chesterfield Fence and Deck, and they're all about putting professionalism and quality first in everything they do. And they offer fences and decks, sunrooms and screen rooms, patios, retaining walls, pergolas, and more. And if you want to have the best product possible, get in touch with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They're locally owned and operated for 56 years. They are going to use their own professionally trained installation crews and trucks and tools, and they operate out of their own warehouse and large showroom in Chesterfield Valley. So when you have Chesterfield Fence and Deck out to your house, they're going to give you a reasonable estimate, and when they do the work for you, it's going to be absolutely perfectly done. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and when you mention me, get 20% off your next outdoor project that's installed by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, online at chesterfieldfence.com. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best. director replacing Desiree Reed-Francois. It's Laird Veach, who has been the athletic director at Memphis. The day after Desiree Reed-Francois made her move to Arizona, well, that name came up here on our program. That was a name that was just being tossed around by people at Mizzou, and now Laird Veach on his way to the University of Missouri. So welcome, Laird. Good to have you back. He was a Mizzou guy. Yeah,
I worked for Laird. I used to do the Missouri basketball games when they used to have a package in the Big 12 of the non-Big 12 games. It would be picked up by the university. Laird, along with Mike Alden, hired me. I love Laird. I think it's a great hire, and I think it'll be fun to see him reconnect with old friends, and it's not like it's somebody that doesn't understand most of the landscape or the big players in Columbia. He knows the alumni base, and he knows those that donate, and that means he can help out with NIL.
And if I'm not mistaken, he worked for Learfield too, right?
Correct. Yes.
So he understands the broadcasting landscape.
Yeah, it's changed though because so much has been picked up nationally and through the SEC network. So there's not as much as they used to do in terms of producing it locally, but radio rights produced locally, things of that nature. So he has a good understanding of that landscape as well.
This is a great hire. And Randy, I think you mentioned it, and Dan, you as well, that he would likely be one of the candidates or the next one that would be hired, and he has the resume to go for it. And here's the thing, is that he's coming into a great situation because you have everything that's going on with the athletics program. Obviously, we saw the new renderings that they unveiled the other day, and that looks fantastic. And then you have Eli Drinkwitz really building momentum around the football program, and that's the biggest thing, is making sure Eli Drinkwitz is on board, making sure that he stays happy. But it just took a while to get to this point of actually hiring him. Do you think the way, and this is just more, not even just on Mizzou, but in college football in general, that it has turned into maybe that it's not even about the athletic director anymore. It's about keeping the board of curators happy. It's about keeping those people happy and catering to them.
I agree with you 100%. The real athletic directors are the football coaches because that's where the money is. And I would think that the athletic director, not that they don't have an important job in raising funds. And by the way, this guy just got $25 million from FedEx for over 5 years for NIL. But I believe that for, let's take most of the SEC, Vanderbilt aside, I would think that the athletic director generally serves at the pleasure of the football coach.
I think the most important aspect of the athletic director is to raise money. You might as well just call him our top fundraiser. And yeah, I understand there's some of the minutia that goes along with what you have to do and being an administrative person to set up schedules and coaches and hirings and figuring out which search firm to go with. I get all that. But at the end of the day, how much money can this person raise to add to our facilities and to get more money in our NIL, in that fund? And he does have that background. He's managed the Tiger Scholarship Fund. I remember when I was there, he was doing that. So he's tied in with people that would donate to the Missouri Athletics Department. And that's, you got to raise money if you're going to pay kids. Paying kids gets you the best talent. Talent helps you win, and that's the bottom line.
And they got that $62 million gift from an anonymous person, which Dan and Randy, that was so generous of you guys to be able to do that.
We're glad to help out any way we can.
Yes.
Big SEC fans.
Yeah, we're very anonymous.
Yeah. I donate my $5 to it, maybe $10.
Yeah. I wonder what that would get you.
Probably
not much.
A
bag of peanuts.
Yeah.
I think Desiree was great, and I think he does have, kind of weird to say, because he's replacing a woman, but he has big shoes to fill, metaphorically speaking.
100%.
Because of what you talked about, Brooke getting that big donation and setting the stage for the fundraising for the north end of Memorial Stadium. And he has to, there's a lot of alums, and I don't know if they were necessarily big alums, big money alums, but a lot of alums that really, really like Desiree Reed-Francois personally. And I'm sure that Laird Veach has a great personality and he'll be great. But it just seems like, as opposed to her replacing Jim Sturck, I don't think Jim Sturck was beloved. I think Desiree is.
Well, and also the money that she raised that you were talking about, they're bringing in, and also just the way that the athletics really transformed. And that's a lot of credit to Eli Drinkwitz, because people are going to go pay to see what's exciting. And Eli Drinkwitz made it a way more exciting football program and has turned things around. And the future looks bright considering you have the 12-team playoff format. And with the momentum that he's building currently, it is tough because the way that she exited also just raises a lot of questions.
can you maintain the momentum? That would be something I would think about with Laird Veach. There's a lot of good things that are happening with the program, a lot of money that's being raised, the renovations that they have. Can you continue that, sustain that? And then what does he do first? What's your vision? I want to hear that. Like you come in and you say, hey, we need to work on this, or we need to keep going in this direction, which I'm sure he'll address in his press conference. But I'd love to know, what do you want to do first? What's one of the things that you need to work on with football being the beast that it is? But how do you even continue to take football to another level? What do you need to do with your head coach? Where are you at with NIL? Retaining your own players? What's your game plan for doing those things?
And this is an interesting line from the story at STLtoday.com from Eli Hoff and Ben Fredrickson, who broke the story. Some questions stemming from the sudden departure of Reed Francois will linger through Laird Veach's arrival. What will become of the UM System Board of Curators MU Athletics Oversight Committee, which met behind closed doors Monday morning, is one. Whether Veach looks to rework the structure or makeup of the athletics department will be another. What if that goes by the wayside? What if the oversight committee goes by the wayside, cause Desiree Reed-Francois to leave, and then this guy comes in, and what they're doing is saying we didn't trust her at all, right?
Well, and the thing is if that's going to happen, I feel like that oversight committee is still going to be there, and that's just the way that things are going in college football in general, but the direction that obviously Mizzou wants to go as well. And that goes back to my original question of not taking away anything from what he's doing, because building up the money, bringing in money is huge, and he was able to do that at Memphis, and he'll be able to continue to do that at Mizzou. But the biggest thing is the curators, will they just let the athletic director be the athletic director? Or has that even changed in college now and what we expect out of athletic directors?
Let them do their job. Hire great people and let them do their job. That would be the way I would look at it.
Why do we have hiring searches, firms? I don't get it.
How much do they get paid for that is my question.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Here's the thing.
And I know I'm probably an idiot for not understanding it, but
Dan,
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
I am an idiot, okay? I'll own that. I came in here the morning after Desiree left and said Laird Veach is a name to know.
I did too.
I'm an idiot, and I said that.
We gave 5 different, we all went through it, and we said, okay, give us 5 options. Laird Veach was on my option list
exactly.
too.
So we could have been a search firm.
I just don't understand it. And I know that these guys are represented by agents, and then the search firm handles the agent and so on and so forth. But I got a short list. And if you're an AD, you keep a short list in the top drawer of your desk and say, okay, if we lose this particular coach, this is the direction we're going.
Exactly. Why a search firm? And they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money doing that.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's amazing.
All right, Randy, what do you got?
Hold on, one other thing. We do have
obviously
some news about the...
What? What do you got?
The search firm is obviously completely separate from the institution of college football.
I understand it.
They're not here because, everyone wants to give somebody they know $300,000 to do a job that they don't actually have to do or anything. It's not like there's some handshaking going on behind the doors here. The search committees is the biggest waste of money. I got a buddy from college I need to find a way to funnel $100,000 to.
And I get the agent part of this, which is the negotiation part, but I still should be able to do that too.
A search firm, sure, they might know the agent's number. I just went in 10 seconds, and I can tell you that Laird Veach's direct line at Memphis is 901-878-5395, and his email is athleticdirector@memphis.edu.
Do you just email him directly on that? From the 314, this is a great point. They hire the search firm so they can pass on liability with the hires. So you can say, well, it was that search firm. We'll get a different one, maybe.
But if it doesn't work with that coach, you're going to get fired anyway. Yeah. So don't put it on the search firm. Yeah. Put it on the AD. If it does not work, especially in football, you're probably a package deal and could be on the way out the door anyway. Yep. Right?
Right. So FYI, we are the search firm of opening drive here on 101 ESPN.
I'd love to be hired for this.
Cut the check.
Yeah. Coming up, the Cardinal bullpen is better than we thought it was going to be, and we thought it was going to be pretty good. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. One, it's because I just feel like I'm enjoying such a nice environment there, which of course sounds like, duh, of course, Brooke, you're enjoying a nice environment. But every time I go in there, everybody's just so nice and kind. I'm actually going over to the West location today, and it feels like I just know the entire staff. They're so helpful, and they also are helping me reach some of my big goals this year. One, I had a goal to get into better shape. I'm already in pretty good shape, but I wanted to really push my limits physically, and Christine, she is my girl. She's been helping me out. I'm working out with her twice a week, and I'm noticing a huge difference. And also, they're helping me getting back into tennis. I love tennis. I grew up playing it my entire life, and Scott has been awesome, just helped me get back to the basics and helping me, in turn, with my pickleball game. So you can see me on the pickleball court here soon and a tennis court as well. And that's why I love my MAC.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals with a win last night in walk-off fashion, getting home runs from Paul Goldschmidt and then the winner from Nolan Gorman. They're back in action for Game 2, facing off against the Diamondbacks. It is a battle of the lefties with Steven Matz on the mound for the Cardinals today. Also, last night, big days in the NHL and the NBA playoffs. In the NBA playoffs, the Cavaliers got a 96-86 win over the Magic, but nobody cares because the Knicks, with a fascinating 104 win over 101 over the 76ers, taking a 2-0 lead in that series. And the Nuggets come back from a 20-point deficit to beat the Lakers 101-99 and Jamal Murray game winner to take a 2-0 lead in their series. On the other side, in the NHL, was a big 3-2 win for the Maple Leafs over the Bruins to even up that series at 1 game apiece. The Hurricanes ripped the Islanders 5-3, the Golden Knights 4-3 over the Stars, and then the Oilers talk about scoring 7-4 over the LA Kings. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Heading into tonight's game against the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Cardinal bullpen is top 10 in all of Major League Baseball in earned run average. They are 10th. Their whip is 11th. They've allowed the 9th most home runs of any bullpen. That's pretty good. And the 3rd fewest walks and the 8th most strikeouts. So the initiative for the Cardinals during the course of the offseason in the bullpen was to get swing and miss. And it appears that at least at this point in the season, 15% of the way into the season, the Cardinals have achieved their goals with the relief pitchers that they have, and that doesn't even include a couple of guys that they planned on being big strikeout guys in Keenan Middleton and Riley O'Brien.
Oh, the Irishman, Riley O'Brien.
Irish.
You have to have at least one on this team. Yep. That is a requirement because we lost Jack Flaherty from the pitching staff, so you have to replace him and find a new one. Now, and I'm very excited to see Riley O'Brien when he comes back, which seems like it could be soon because he adds that swing and miss to your bullpen. But at the same time, what you have right now is working for the Cardinals, and that's credit to Ollie Marmol with what he's able to do. That is something you're wanting to look for positives right now. And I know that, Dan, you mentioned it earlier, sometimes when you bring that up with Ollie that you feel like you have to duck afterwards, but the bullpen is something that is really on the manager, and he's done a good job of managing that.
I think he has, and last night was kind of the recipe for what the Cardinals need in games this season. It doesn't always work out, but it did last night. Bullpen was a huge factor, even though I think most of the headlines will go with Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman, and understandably so. But the bullpen last night, Fernandez a scoreless 6th, Kittredge inning in a 3rd, no hits, Romero 2/3 scoreless, Helsley gave up a hit, but a scoreless inning. 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Kittredge has given up 1 earned in 9 innings so far this year. He has struck out 11, so he's become a weapon. That is the formula. Get some decent starting pitching, 5 to 6 innings, even though I'd love to see guys go deeper because it'll catch up with you in a bullpen. That's one of the problems. But then have a timely hit or two, and that's what they got last night.
Here's a note to that, though, Dan. The Cardinals and the Pirates are tied for 22nd with only 78 and a third innings from their bullpens. You look at a team like the Dodgers. Dodgers have 103 and a third innings from their bullpen already. Cardinals have 78.
Yeah, and that'll catch up with you. You know, last year they had 41 blown leads. And I think part of it was they weren't very good, obviously, but also starters were not going deep into games, and the bullpen by August was absolutely beat up.
Yeah. So I think everything is kind of working the way they thought it would. It would have been disingenuous for them to think that Lynn and Gibson were going to give them earned run averages of 2.9, right? Because one had an earned run average approaching 6 last year. The other had an earned run average approaching 5. But they gave innings. So they're getting innings. They're giving their team an opportunity to win, and only 50% of the time. What are they, 10 and 13 now? But that's in large part because of a bad offense. I think from a pitching standpoint, if I could go through the whole season with what the Cardinals have got pitching-wise out of these first 23 games, I'd be happy with that.
I would too. And then you can make another addition possibly at the trade deadline for this team to really put them over for the playoffs if they are able to get that done. I know that it's just 10 and 13 right now, but still, I think the pitching staff is as advertised going this season. If you're looking for a difference of last year and this year, you mentioned what happened in the starting rotation early last year. They imploded. I think that had a lot to do with what we saw with the bullpen towards the end there, where they also imploded because of the overuse. It just feels like it's a better formula going into this season.
It's not sustainable, though.
That's the issue.
Your starters have to go deeper into games, a little bit deeper. You know, I'll take the 5 innings. They won the game. I understand that, but is that sustainable every 5th day? Probably not. And it plays into what may happen tonight. You know, can you go back-to-back with Helsley if you have that situation? Day game tomorrow, short turnaround, things like that. You manage to win the game, but you also keep an eye on tomorrow and the next day in a series, and that's something that you have to keep in mind.
If you could average your bullpen with 8 relief pitchers, if you could average your bullpen having to deliver 9 outs a night, are you okay with that? Averaging. So you're going to get some 7s, you're going to get some 5s, but most of the time you're going to get 6 out of your starter.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I am too.
Yeah. And I think that's modern day baseball too. You know, it's just the way it is. Yeah. Guys just don't go deep. I don't like it. It is what it is. I'm with you though. The average, like if Sonny Gray gives you 7 or 8 one day, and you're able to take a day off with your bullpen. And that's the thing, I think, Randy, that you're saying. It's not like every night, okay, 5 innings, go to your bullpen. Next day, 5 innings, go to your bullpen. There's got to be a break in that to give guys a little rest going into game 2 of a series, game 3, so on and so forth.
And here's the biggest thing, though. We're talking about the pitching side of things, of course, but on the other side, the offense does have to do its part. And that's the biggest thing with the Cardinals this season. Charles from the YouTube chat says, your starters can pitch perfect games, but it's not going to matter if they don't score runs. And that's the biggest thing that we're talking about here with the Cardinals this season, is they have to do their part offensively. Great game last night, but still, can they do this more on a consistent basis?
Offense right now, 27th in baseball in average, 29th in home runs. They need to hit home runs. That's clearly an element of today's day and age of baseball. You have to be able to hit home runs. Right now, they're 29th in baseball, and their OPS is 27th. So, Brooke, you're 100% right. If they don't hit, to me, it's not that hard to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
You know, you get decent pitching, and if your big boys hit, you had a chance to win. If they don't, you're probably not going to win as many games as you'd like. It's not that hard to figure out.
No.
A month into the 1968 season, Bob Gibson threw 7 innings, then 9, 12, and 11. Okay?
Bob Gibson ain't walking through that door.
He is not. Major League Baseball, we'll reach to the month point of the season on Thursday. Major League Baseball has had 3 complete games.
I'm going to take it a step further. There's only 4 teams that have had their 5 starters make their starts. So every team has gone 6, 7, 8 different starters. Think about that. You're not even a month into the season, and only 4 teams have used the original 5 that they'd had to start this season.
Exactly. Bob Gibson, it would be great if we could bring back another Bob Gibson, but there's a reason why he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, because there's not many like him.
So none others like him. So
I think the best stat with Bob, by the way, not to interrupt, but 251 wins, 255 complete games.
It's amazing.
It's insane.
It is. So, it's just, you'll never see it again.
Again, a month into his 1968 season, he had 4 complete games. A month into the 2024 season, baseball as a whole has 3.
And Justin Verlander's probably the one guy that may get to 300 wins, but that's a dying breed as well.
It is.
I mean, that's over too.
Coming up, we've got rock and roll for you, and we got some fun stuff coming your way on 101 ESPN. I want you to know about Hoffman Brothers, and it got hot in St. Louis last summer. It got hot everywhere, and if your air conditioner was having a hard time keeping up with the summer heat, you should be in touch with Hoffman Brothers this year. Do you feel like you have hot and cold spots in the house? Well, Hoffman Brothers can handle all of your air conditioning needs and questions this summer. Repairs, maintenance, installation, and that's important. They do it. They also offer 0% financing for up to 36 months. Call or text Hoffman Brothers at 314-664-3011, 314-664-3011, or go to HoffmanBros.com to set up your appointment. Hoffman Brothers is an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, and their goal is to make sure that your family is comfortable during the warm St. Louis summer heat. And you need to schedule that air conditioner maintenance, because if you don't, inevitably something happens to your air conditioner in the middle of the summer. Hoffman Brothers gets backed up, and you might be warm for a couple of days. Get it taken care of now. Get in touch with Hoffman Brothers. Tell them Randy sent you, 314-664-3011, or go to HoffmanBros.com.
and roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
The Flash, apparently official.
Oh my
Pitbull coming to Hollywood Casino Amphitheater on September 22nd with special guest T-Pain. T-Pain, part owner of the Miami Dolphins and the man who sings, air quotes, the Miami Dolphins fight song.
He does sing. I know you put the air quotes because he's known for auto-tune.
Did you watch him on The Masked Singer?
Yes.
He was great.
He's a really, really talented singer. Mm-hmm. Now, did I like that? No.
That's awesome.
So I'm sorry.
This is
I don't
awesomeness.
Like it.
Pure
awesomeness. No. Mm-mm.
Dan?
What?
I have no idea who this guy is.
T-Pain.
T-Pain?
Oh,
no, I don't know who he is.
Famous. You can see him at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater on September 22nd. Tickets on sale Friday morning
Sounds
at
great.
10 a.m. Can we hear a little bit more? Is it gone?
Nah, we're good.
I just like the open. It's my favorite part. I mean, it's just, come on. How can you not get jacked with it and hear this?
Go. Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team.
This rips. I'm
You think
sorry.
this fires you up?
This is fantastic. Hey, when this was coming out, I was getting the Rams rules. I'd
Well,
kill
that's
for
true.
this. I'd kill for it, Danny.
I think it's that part with like the
Yeah.
little keyboard.
Back in the iteration of this show as Carricker and Smallman, the Dolphins were our show team because we had a vote and the Dolphins won. So this past year, when the Dolphins put up 70 on Denver, I would text her that song, a link to that song every time the Dolphins scored a touchdown. So she got 10 links to the T-Pain song.
What happened to those Dolphins is the weather got a little colder down the stretch.
It was not great.
I'm just saying.
It get colder in Miami, but you don't want to go on the road.
No.
Yeah. And then they lost their defense. I think they were down 5 defensive starters. So that wasn't great either.
Van Ginkel was their top defensive player.
Yeah. And they lost Fangio now, their defensive coordinator. They're going to have a completely different looking defense next year. I don't know if they'll be as good. All right, sorry, Matthew, to take away from your time in rock and roll.
You're fine.
Time
it's
for rock
basketball. Who really
and
cares?
By the way,
I
Pitbull. Pitbull would be fun to see, right?
Oh, yeah, you would.
Mr.
He's your dog.
Worldwide? Yeah.
He's your dog, right?
He's my dog. Yeah.
I see what you did there, too.
Pitbull.
I got to talk a little bit about what happened last night in Denver as the Lakers and the Nuggets went to the last seconds, all because the Lakers had a 20-point lead, which the Nuggets eventually clawed back. And in the final frame, it was a rough one for Randy's favorite player, Street Clothes, because Anthony Davis got beat up a little bit by Nikola Jokic. The funniest thing about this, though, as I can't do this at the same time. There it is. The funniest thing about this is that before the game, he was talking to ESPN's Dave McMenamin about the finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year award. The finalists were announced, and it is Rudy Gobert, no shock there, Bam Adebayo, and rookie Victor Wembanyama. When asked about that, Anthony Davis said, "I'll never get it. They're not going to give it to me. The league doesn't like me. I'm the best defensive player in the league. I can switch 1 through 5. I can guard the pick and roll the best in the league from a big standpoint. I block shots. I rebound. I don't know what else to do. I'm over it. I'm just going to do what I got to do to help the team win and try to play for championships. Accolades and individual awards, I'm done with those."
Well, this is the first year that he played.
Well, in fairness, here's what happened about 6 hours after he gave that quote.
Time. I love it. Don't call it. Tie ball game. Worst can happen. We go to overtime. Murray makes a move.
That's Jamal Murray hitting the game-winning shot. He dots the I over Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis then falls into the Nuggets bench and gets absolutely buried like a gold vein under the entirety of the Nuggets bench as they celebrate on top of him. It was one of the worst final fourth quarters for a legend that I've ever seen. Nikola Jokic put him in the spin cycle, possession after possession after possession in the fourth quarter, and just absolutely murdered him every single time. This guy is going to be a Hall of Famer, and he is going to be a Hall of Famer primarily because of his defense. And yet last night, he got put in a torture chamber by Jokic, and then Murray singled him out to dot the I for a winner in a playoff game. That's unbelievable.
So I know this is not a question that applies to Matthew. Do you guys ever watch? Well, Matthew, you can participate, just not from last night's perspective.
You just you took it away from him and brought it back.
Matthew, because I'm sure there are other games. You'll think of this right off the bat. Are there games where you root really hard against both teams? Because I do that in Lakers Nuggets.
Duke UNC.
I agree with you about Lakers Nuggets.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I root hard against both of them.
I don't like either one of them.
Don't you just want to see a competitive game then out of both teams? Why do you torture yourself then?
I do. It's terrible. I don't know why I do.
Flip the channel. Go somewhere else. There's sporting events everywhere.
I was flipping to hockey. It's just... I just want to see them fail.
Well, someone's got to win, Randy. I don't know if you knew that.
I hate it, though. It's one of those things. It's a no-win proposition for me. It's like that stupid Rams-Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was
bad.
Here
that's
we go.
A good point.
Well, we'll move on to something positive. And that was
the one where the LA Rams and the Patriots Super Bowl.
Yes.
We'll move on to something more positive.
You guys know I was on the road. I didn't see a snap of that Super Bowl.
Rocc?
This has nothing to do with any teams that I think Randy really hates. Here was broadcasting history last night. I'll explain it after the call.
2-point game. Ball knocked loose, and Maxey gets knocked down. Hart takes it away. Out top to DiVincenzo. His shot won't go. Hartenstein the rebound. Hartenstein gets it out to Anunoby. DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13 seconds.
The game winner from Dante DiVincenzo, and only the fourth ever double bang from Mike Breen in a playoff game. Dante DiVincenzo just sends Mike Breen incandescent over the edge for only the fourth ever double bang in Mike Breen playoff history. I loved it. I love the bang call in the first place. By the way, the first ever double bang was Steph Curry in the playoffs, so it shouldn't surprise you. But yeah, I just love that he gets into the game. He's my favorite, even above I think Kevin Harlan when it comes to basketball. And those calls are just always the best.
How do you know that this was his fourth double bang?
Because the Mike Breen bang call is revered in the NBA Twitter circles. And so last night when he called it, somebody actually went on Twitter and said, this is the fourth one ever, and then listed the other three before Mike Breen. Because people listen that heavily to Mike Breen's playoff calls.
And I guess that's more revered than the Marv Albert bang?
I think it's just more recent, and it's just... And
I know where you're going.
And he's kind of built off of it.
Oh, you're not going that way?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was just trying to move on from that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
know where I was.
It was another really fun game in the NBA.
Get your head out of the gutter.
Randy.
I don't even know I honestly have no idea what you're saying. Are you talking about when he bit somebody's back? Is this...
Would they have it a week back?
Oh, yeah, might have. But Costas brought bang to the Spirits and to Mizzou, too.
Okay.
Bang.
I met Mike Breen a couple of times. He came up to the booth in New York. He was awesome. Such a gentleman.
Yeah.
I love listening to him.
He is really good. And when you think about Harlan, Brian Anderson does a really good job. Yep. Mm-hmm. Breen does a really good job. Ian Eagle does a really good job. There's a lot of good basketball play-by. I don't think there's anybody better than Kevin Harlan right now doing play-by-play.
Spiro Ditas, another one.
Yeah, really
Spiro
great.
Ditas is a great name to pull. I love Spiro Ditas.
He's outstanding.
You know who else is really good is Ian Eagle's son.
Yes,
Noah
Eagle's incredible.
Yeah, so cool stuff. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today for the most part?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Daniel, great job as always.
Great job, Randy.
And if you want to hear the Dan Rolfes interview, you'll be able to do so on our Dobbs Tire and Auto Center podcast, either on the app or at 101ESPN.com. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. Balloon Party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up for all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great Taco Tuesday, St. Louis.
That's right.